Welcome, everyone, to the Tampa Bay Developer Podcast. Today we have Karen Kress. Welcome.
Thank you.
And you are the senior, I'm going to screw your title up, Senior Director of Transportation and Planning at the partnership.
You nailed it. It's long.
And how long have you been with the partnership for?
I have been there for 21 years.
21 amazing years. Downtown has seen
Yeah.
a crazy transformation in two decades.
I was there to witness all of it.
How did you get into this organization? Did you kind of grow up interested in like urban placemaking?
Not really. I met a man who used to work there, Paul Ayers. He was their marketing person. And I never heard of the partnership before. When I first moved here, in fact, I got a job at the office tower on Harbor Island. And I used to walk around, take a break or a lunch break, and I couldn't believe that it was dolphins and sunshine because I moved here from Boston via Cleveland, where I'm from. So I used to take the people mover from Harbor Island into downtown.
Wow.
And just wander around downtown. And I do remember thinking, wow, downtown Tampa is so clean. And then fast forward, 10 years, I go to work for the organization that literally has people out on the street 7 days a week to make sure downtown is clean. So I know it's kind of a niche organization. It's a niche industry. You almost have to know about it. But of course, once I feel like I found my place once I started there, and I wish I would have known about urban planning sooner.
Yeah.
Unless you really know an urban planner, or if you're kind of into city building, there's not really a way to find out about this kind of work.
Right. What did you start, what was your first role at the partnership?
Well, I've actually been in the same role the whole time.
That's crazy.
But the fun part is my job has evolved as downtown Tampa has evolved. So I've typically been the one person focused on the transportation and planning realm of downtown. We've grown our team to 2 plus an intern now. So it's been a really interesting transition.
Did it kind of start out as a let's try to improve service, or was it a visionary role? Like, how has the role evolved in 2 decades for you? I mean, that's kind of wild. You've been in the same position for 2 decades
I know.
in one city.
Well, really, the only advancement opportunity for me is president and CEO job, which I honestly have zero interest in. I really like my lane.
Yeah.
And I'm not interested in managing, 50 people's problems is kind of how I look at it. Plus, we have a board of about 50 people.
A board of 50 people?
Yeah.
Just from different businesses around the city? Wow.
Yeah. So it's a lot. So
you can probably be super effective, like implement policy, really be boots on the ground, but then not take on that whole hat of responsibility.
Yeah, exactly right.
And let's go back to the people mover, because I don't know if we've had someone on the show that's actually ridden the people mover. I think it was tore down. I don't even remember it. I was born in 92. It must have been when was it tore down?
Well,
late 90s?
I was there I was on Harbor Island in the mid 90s.
Huh.
So yeah, probably late 90s would be a guess.
I don't ever remember riding it. Maybe I guess they shut it down for a reason, right?
I don't know, you wouldn't just come ride it. Oh, there you go.
Why not? It looks awesome.
I actually have a people mover token that I keep on my desk that interestingly my son found behind a drinking fountain at a grocery store in Temple Terrace.
Oh my gosh.
So random, but
so you would actually commute using this people mover?
I would want to leave Harbor Island on a lunch break, wander around downtown Tampa. I had just moved here. So sometimes I would just hop on the people mover and take it to the Fort Brooke parking garage, which was the station, which is now the City of Tampa's parking office.
Do you know Tampa Pix? Have you seen this website, tampapix.com?
I have not.
TampaPix.com. I don't know I think it's a man who runs it. He's ran it for a long time, but in terms of like historical stuff like this, with this information related to the people mover or really anything else, it's an awesome website. And look at the background. See the tokens?
Oh yeah, there you go.
So this was called the Harbor Island Express People Mover. It went from Jackson's Bistro upstairs, right?
Yep,
That's where
exactly.
the little terminal was, stop. And then it went over the bridge and stopped at the convention center, right?
No, it was just one stop from what I remember.
Just from where, like Jackson's to the Fort Brooke garage?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and back then, by the way, the building that Jackson's is in, that was a pretty thriving place. There was a food court, and they had some retail shopping down in the first floor, I think it was. There was a Columbia restaurant there. I don't know whether you remember that.
I do not.
Yeah, there were 3 or 4 different restaurants. So, I mean, it's come back a little bit, but,
And
it
and
used to be
so
a place.
when you would leave for lunch or just go explore downtown Tampa, coming from Boston, right?
Yeah.
Like, what was your
Yeah.
thought
Yeah.
about downtown?
Yeah. Well, Boston is such a historic city, and, I'm a big lover of history, which is why we've started to delve into historic preservation in Tampa's downtown as well. But, honestly, if it wasn't for Ybor City, I don't know that we would have stayed in Tampa
Mm,
because, Cleveland is a great city of neighborhoods, and Boston is Boston, except the weather is rough. So I moved down here, and I didn't really feel that sense of pride, that sense of community pride, that sense
mm,
of history. I think Ybor brought that credibility to Tampa, but downtown Tampa was pretty dead even during the workday.
yeah,
I do remember people walking around with, kind of like business clothes on, but I don't remember we're seeing tourists, or the Riverwalk wasn't really a thing back then. So
yeah.
it was a completely different place.
Yeah, mid 90s. I mean, I was just a little kid. I don't remember much. I remember it being very corporate, metropolitan, businessy, like a
Yeah,
bunch of people in suits always walking around. I remember
that was the vibe.
my dad used to work, he worked at Morgan, Calling and Gilbert, which became Morgan and Morgan, the law
Okay.
firm. And
Oh,
so that was in the Bank of America building. And I would sit out the window and count the taxis as they went by, like the yellow cabs. I just remember it being very like downtowny, true, like central business district
mm-hmm.
feel, completely different from
Yeah.
today.
And you asked about how my job has kind of evolved over the years. Dealing with taxis was a big part of my job at one point, which is kind of funny. Like, where should the taxi stands be?
Right.
We wanted some of them to be moved to other places. It was always interesting dealing with the taxi industry. At one point, I thought maybe we were going to have our feet in concrete at the
Oh my
blocks at the
gosh.
bottom of the river.
So when was the partnership started?
Okay, so if you can go, David, bring up that slide that talks about the
David, pull
partnership.
that up. What do we got here?
Go back one more. Okay,
Mm,
so in the bottom, you'll see we're kind of divided into 3 different sections. The one that's been around the longest there is the membership section in the middle. We have about 250 members. We were founded in '86. You can see, so we've been around for a minute. I was not there from the very beginning. I'm not that old, but yeah, it's basically people got together and wanted to see more out of Tampa's downtown. They really worked on a lot of big kind of transformational projects in the beginning. You probably have heard of Amalie Arena. You probably have heard of the Florida Aquarium. Um, Lakes Park was a big initiative of, my former colleagues, and even the Rampello Downtown Partnership School. Some of the early people in our organization figured we needed a school in downtown. So they helped found that school, which is a K through 8 school, and it has a huge waiting list. So there's, I think, a need to even expand that school in our downtown.
And so it says the membership includes a broad range of stakeholders, including national corporations, locally owned businesses, civic organizations, government agencies,
Yep.
property owners, arts and culture. So anyone who has a stake from the local government to artists to business owners, people that own property, people that do business, right? Like they can be a part of the Tampa Downtown Partnership, which says, what does the Tampa Downtown Partnership do? Committed to advancing downtown Tampa's position as the vital urban center for the region.
Yeah, so we have 3 pillars to our organization. Membership has been around the longest. And then the most tangible thing that people, and by the way, you don't have to be a company in downtown to be a member, as you kind of, I think, just rightly pointed out.
Hmm.
The Special Services District is the most tangible part of our organization. That's the section that I fall into. So we have legally defined boundaries of what we call downtown, which, Garrett, I'd be real interested in hearing what you think, where you think is downtown, because everybody has a different opinion.
Can we go into it right
Yeah,
now?
let's do it.
I think when people say downtown in America, they really mean the central business district.
Hmm.
When I think of downtown, I also think of the urban core, which I equate to the city, the real city, what was traditionally the city of Tampa. In my head, downtown actually includes Ybor, Tampa Heights, the area around Armature Works, all the way down south around the river, Channel Side, Central Business District, and then even the north part of Harbor Island. I think of downtown Tampa as air quote the city, and I think it's actually much bigger than what the partnership describes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, 50 people would have 50 different opinions. I talked to someone recently who lives near Columbus and 15th, and they told me they live downtown. So we love that. I mean, a lot of people do think of downtown as a central business district, what we call the downtown core. And I'll show you what our legally defined boundaries are. But so getting back to the special
I almost
service.
wish it was like Tampa's, you know, what would be a Tampa's urban partnership or
Yeah.
something. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
urban has sort of like a it's that word's been, it has this weird connotation, and I don't mean it that way. I mean like the true city, the historic city of Tampa, this dense urban core we used to have. To me, it encompasses the entire area. It would be cool to see an organization that could capture
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
that and kind of collaborate and work
Yeah.
together. But
Well, one
I'm sure
thing,
it's been tried over the years.
and one thing that people don't realize is that we're part of basically an industry. So in the United States, there's over 3,000 organizations like ours. So most cities of any appreciable size is going to have, if they're small, they're going to have probably a Main Street program in their downtown. But if they're any bigger, they're probably going to have a similar organization. They could be structured a little bit differently, but typically there is a nonprofit dedicated to the revitalization of downtown. Tampa is one of the bigger ones. We are actually the first in the state. It's growing internationally. We have a lot of people who come to our annual conference. We are all kind of members of the International Downtown Association.
Mm.
That's why I was in Seattle once last year. That's where the conference was. This year it's in DC. So it moves all around. Tampa hosted it maybe 5 years ago,
Very cool.
we were kind of a smaller city to host a big conference like that. But I think we showed pretty well, and we were proud of it.
Go to that next slide, David, because it has the map of where the Tampa Downtown
Yep.
Partnership operates.
Yep.
So it's the neighborhoods of Tampa Heights, River Arts, which is around the Straz, West Riverfront around the University of Tampa, and north to the river, Water Street, Downtown Core, Central Park, I think I said that, and Channel District. So those are the neighborhoods that encompass the Tampa Downtown Partnership, correct?
Yep. And it wasn't that long ago that those neighborhoods were formed enough, those areas were formed enough to be a neighborhood.
Right, with their
So,
own distinct name
yes.
and
Yeah.
kind of their own like logo and fonts. And I think that that identification is so important. People want to be a part of something, and if you just call this entire area downtown and there's no defining factors to these different areas, it kind of loses its fun,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like we all want to be a part of something cool.
Yeah.
And I noticed this was almost like a new thing, right? In the last few years, these logos for these different areas of downtown.
Yep. My colleague Caroline Kiesler led this neighborhood branding initiative. We hired a firm. We did focus groups in each of the neighborhoods. So we wanted to hear from them, like, what's the right iconography, what's the right feel and look of your neighborhood. So we do have our special services district divvied up into these 7 neighborhoods, and we're still rolling out the kind of the neighborhood branding, the look and feel in each of them. So it's all kind of matchy overall, but it has its own
And then
style.
back to these different organizations around the country. You said there's 3,000 organizations like this, and even small towns might have like a Main Street program
New York City has over 90.
just in New York City.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
from specific streets to
Yep.
neighborhoods.
Yep, exactly.
It's really interesting. And the purpose of it is almost like bridging the gap between government and then business leaders and everyone else I mentioned that's a part of this organization, right? Like the city government can only sort of be creative and can only handle so much. You guys kind of fill those little needs along the way to tie everything up with a pretty little bow, right?
Yeah, I like that analogy. We go above and beyond what basic city services are. We're not, so there's the baseline city services, and then we're trying to enhance that within our boundaries. And going back to the name, I do like that line of thinking. In Jacksonville, kind of a sister organization, they're called Jacksonville Vision. In Charlotte, they're called Center City Partners. So I think maybe there's something we could try there.
Shout out Caroline. What's the map behind you in the studio here? We reference it all the time. It's the old trolley map. Can you see the date where it says Tampa? I think it's 1914 that map is from.
Yep.
So that would, like, in my head, if you're asking me where the line should be drawn, I would name this organization Tampa 1914 and focus on this holistic approach to the entire urban core, including all the areas I described earlier. I think that would be an interesting way to do it. Sounds like Jacksonville's done that, like you said. But Jacksonville is unique. They have that kind of city county,
Yeah, that
like
it's the structure is different.
they can be super flexible and what they can do.
I don't want to look at this map very long because it makes me sad.
Well, look, I mean,
50 miles of streetcar track, right?
yeah, all
Yeah.
torn up in the 1940s. I mean,
Yeah.
you could go from Sulphur Springs down to Ballast Point.
And I think it ran all but 3 hours a day or something crazy.
Oh yeah, all day. I mean, there was actually I found an old sheet that had the schedule on it, and it was super frequent. I mean, you really could take one almost every 5 minutes anywhere around town. And when you look at a map like that, you'll notice there's no highway, and especially the north part of downtown, right next to the cemetery, in between where Armature Works is today and Ybor City. Look how thick that urban massing is. Imagine the shops, the restaurants, the businesses. Look at how thick the streetcar network is. It's like every other street had a streetcar. And so to me, the partnership talks about a grand vision of downtown, and you guys just had your forum last week, which was really cool to kind of put everything together. The mayor talks about a grand vision. There's so many leaders in the community that always talk about what we're moving towards, but to me, I call it rebuilding. We're really rebuilding back Tampa. It's
Yeah.
not like we're moving in this new, unique direction and we're trying to become the best. No. We're rebuilding what we lost. That's what I think when I look at this picture, which doesn't make me sad. It actually makes me optimistic because the foundation's there,
Okay. That's a good perspective.
you know?
And also if you look at that area you just talked about, that's kind of the one area where the interstate cut through that hasn't fully redeveloped yet.
That's right.
So no coincidence, right?
And so that's sort of a focus of the partnership now,
It is.
right? Because the core, the business district has came a long way, and it looks a lot nicer, and there's some public art, and there's some thriving businesses, and so now I'm sure that was the focus initially with your organization, and now it's sort of like, okay, what other areas can we help with within our boundaries?
Yeah, I mean, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it was about trying to convince people to brave the one-way streets and paying for parking to come into downtown Tampa. Now it's more about managing the demand, which is a great problem to have.
It's a good problem to have. But there's also areas within downtown that I think a lot of people overlook that have awesome opportunity. So let's go back to that list. Well, first, let's actually talk about the special service district because I don't fully understand it. Explain it to me. It's basically like is it a taxing authority or is this a membership based? How do you guys get the money to operate and do what you need to do?
So we do have membership fees like a chamber would. That's a pretty small segment of our budget. I work under the special services district bucket, as I mentioned, and all of the properties within those legally defined boundaries shown on the screen do pay an assessment. It's like just over 1 mil per thousand. So except for about 50% of the district, which is, a park, a government building, a church, a university. So it's kind of ironic that we love having all of those in our downtown, but they don't actually pay into the district.
Well, looking at the map, there's quite a lot of areas that don't pay anything. I mean, but especially in the West Riverfront. I mean, between the University of Tampa, the schools, right, all the parks and everything,
Yeah.
there's not a whole lot of juice to squeeze there.
Yeah, and ironically, we've expanded our district twice. So the first time was up into Tampa Heights. So our district used to end basically at the interstate at Scott Street. Now it extends up to Palm Avenue. And then we also added Encore in the Central Park neighborhood, and then a little bit on the west of the river. So none of those expansions really brought in a whole lot of assessment value, but they were just starting to feel more and more like Tampa's downtown or part of Tampa's downtown. So it just made sense to provide our services there.
And how could this district be expanded? Is it set up like a CRA where you have to sort of like prove blight, right? To
No, it's unrelated to a CRA.
unrelated.
We do have CRAs. Most of our downtown is in a CRA. Unfortunately, the area of Tampa Heights that we expanded into, for the most part, is not in a CRA, which is a detriment to addressing the slum and blight that's up there. But we would expand through someone asking us to. We're not necessarily looking to expand,
Sure.
and it's through city council. So we operate under a contract that gets renewed every year, believe it or not, by Tampa City Council.
Every
Yeah,
year.
so far so good, knock on wood, right? But yeah, every year.
Every year. And so you go before council and say, here's what we've been doing, here's the money, et
Yep.
cetera, et cetera. And they
Every
say,
August.
sure, keep it rolling.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, and we include residential and commercial. So like the Streetcar, for instance, they have an assessment as well, but it doesn't include residential. But ours includes, all of that.
Now, in your title is transportation. Is a real, now we can talk about Dash for sure, but is a streetcar extension, could that be facilitated through the partnership, or that's a little bit too big of a project?
Yeah, that's a city project, but we are certainly there to advocate, build stakeholder support, organize stakeholder meetings, promote. We have a transportation committee where we have all the different agencies coming to kind of say what's going on, and hopefully leads to better collaboration and coordination. So we're definitely in the mix, but we're not like,
Yeah.
applying to grants to the FTA to get money for it.
So the streetcar, to me, I mean, my vision for the city is to be as close as we can to that map we saw earlier, right? I'd love to see streetcars hit every neighborhood in the city. I think that'd be a beautiful thing. And
Are they historic cars in your mind or modern?
they're not. They can't be historic
Okay.
because we live in a modern age in a modern city. And
Okay.
if people are going to be dressed up nice and use them to go to events or certainly go to work, they can't be sweating on an old rickety streetcar. I do think the historic streetcars could be used for certain celebrations, or maybe you keep one going through Ybor to kind of keep that historic character. But I think if it was to become a real transportation solution, it needs to be quick, efficient, it needs to be frequent, and it needs to be smooth and
Yeah.
easy to ride. And with that,
Yeah.
you'd have to have a modern version.
I was at La Union. My colleague Casey Bauer lives there, and we had a porch party and we wanted to watch all the transportation assets go by, basically, whether that's
It's a
the
great
cast
place to do
cycle
it.
track or the green spine, et cetera. And we saw the Breezer go by. That's like the open air
Oh yeah.
old streetcar. We're like, oh, they're rolling that out in the heat, but
I
I guess
mean,
there's a breeze as you're
a
rolling.
nice little breeze. Yeah, that's a great example, right? Pull that thing out when necessary to kind of show that the history behind it. I also don't know why we pretend we can't have something modern that looks historic too.
True.
Why can't the city take on the challenge of having its own proprietary streetcar that looks like our old streetcars but has modern technicals,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
I don't see why that couldn't be possible. You've been in your role for a couple decades, and I think the streetcar has been talked about that long
Oh, it's
or more.
yeah.
And then bringing in like a regional light rail, right? It's all been talked about for decades. Do you think that is there a spearhead that needs to be more vocal? Like, is it an elected official? Is it a group of business people getting together and really demanding for viable transportation? Like, where do you see a disconnect, or do you have faith like, hey, this will get done one day?
I do have faith. I wish I had the answers as to why we haven't been able to move forward. I will say, that overturning of that referendum
Yeah.
was a real blow. Like,
Yeah.
I literally considered moving away from Tampa. It was a real
Really?
blow.
Wow.
I was part of a huge grassroots team that went out and, we knocked on doors and we asked people to support it, and they did. I really think safety resonated, especially in some of the unincorporated county areas. But yeah,
Yeah, it set us back. I mean,
it did.
I've heard it set us back decades. Someone who was on the show recently I said, "Oh, like how far did that set us back?" And he's like, "A generation." Like that was I think it was Harry Cohen.
But I do think the city and the current city council members are committed to making the streetcar work.
Yeah. Over Clendenin's dead body, right?
He is
But
definitely the band
I
leader
think that's
there.
what we need. We really need
Yeah.
elected officials to be super vocal. Don't let that conversation die. Don't give up on it.
And the other thing is there is money, and it's just all about how you prioritize that money.
Mm,
I sit on one of the transportation planning organization committees, and we see the pie chart that shows how the money is divvied up, and it goes to roads.
hmm
And I know that we can't control all of that locally. Unfortunately, there's certain formulas. It's complicated, but there's certain formulas that require you, either the state or the federal government was requiring you to spend, this pot of money on roads and highways, and this small sliver can go to transit or sidewalks. So
hmm
we're not always in control of our own destiny, but there is money out there.
The control has been whittled away over the last 100 years.
Oh, it's,
And
yeah.
my fear is that disconnect will continue to grow in terms of relationships with the city and the county with the state, and the state to the federal government. And what's interesting to me is the federal government was always set up to allow the people to have a voice, right? Like it was like the founders set those documents up and had the vision for the people having the power and states' rights. That was in limited federal government. And that was always sort of an American thing. And obviously a lot has changed in the last few hundred years, which is fine because we've modernized as a society. But it seems like there's a huge disconnect from the needs of the people of the city versus county versus what the state's doing versus the federal government. Like I don't, we just keep spinning our wheels. And if our hands are tied and we don't have the capability to even extend a streetcar 10 blocks to the north, I don't know how we're going to build the city of our dreams. So
Yeah.
I think like legislation probably needs to change at the state level,
Yeah.
and we probably need to get a shift at the county level too to start making some real progress, because I think the way it sits, we're a little bit in a gridlock situation,
Well, in gridlock traffic.
literally.
Yeah, I mean, as our growth continues, we're going to be more and more urban, and we're going to need urban solutions. My 17-year-old son just commented to me how he actually thinks traffic in Lutz is worse than traffic in downtown Tampa. He has some friends who live up there,
Yeah.
but I'm like, that's because they don't have a grid. There's just these kind of mean streets that if you're walking or biking, good luck on those.
This
But
country's talked so much about diversity and freedom. Well, how about the freedom and diversity of travel? I mean, if everyone's living in the suburbs, forced to be in a car to go
yeah,
get anything they need, well, if we're all using the same road, of course the traffic is
yeah,
worse.
yeah. Well, not only that, but I know we're kind of jumping around, but I got a massage recently, and the massage therapist was from Cuba. And he was telling me that his mom recently moved here. She doesn't drive and she doesn't speak English, and they live somewhere in the suburbs of Tampa. And recently she went to Miami to visit some people, and she spent time in the Little Havana neighborhood, and she had the time of her life. And I think it's because she could walk places and linger and lounge and, be among people who could, play dominoes or whatever it is. And
hmm
in her kind of enclave and probably some gated community, like she's not experiencing that sense of community.
That's exactly right. And I think it's why people are disengaged in our society with not only each other, but things in local government. I mean, what, if I can just get in my car and go to work and go home and go to a store and go home, it's like, where's my interaction with
Yeah.
people? Like checking out at a grocery store is my interaction with the people, or at work, that's the only interaction. That old map we pulled up in 1914, you'd pass by multiple people you knew and you'd
Right.
say hello to them and you'd look them in the eyes, and then you'd go
Yeah.
to a little corner store that your neighbor owned or whatever, or your family friends owned, and then
Yeah.
your family owned a store. And it's like everyone was a part of this society together. And so there was sort of like one mission and one goal. And we've developed ourselves away from that with car-centric design. And there's sort of two building camps in this country that actually doesn't really exist anywhere else in the entire world. And that is the suburban and the urban lifestyle. And it certainly exists in other countries, but not to the level it does in America.
One or the other.
One or the other. And those people have different needs. And the cities in this country have really been on the back burner for really since urban renewal. I mean, for the last like 60 to 80 years, the cities have been used for. This episode is brought to you by the official remodeler of the TBD podcast, Kohler House Remodeling Company. Built on the belief that every homeowner deserves a premium experience, Kohler House is redefining high-end home remodeling with their commitment to integrity, craftsmanship, and quality communication. Their work speaks for itself, from condos in the towers of Channelside to 100-year-old homes in South Tampa, creating spaces that are both stunning and functional. What sets Kohler House Remodeling Company apart is their dedication to not only transforming homes into beautiful spaces, but to elevating the standard of residential general contracting. From concept to completion, every detail is handled with care, ensuring a process that's as smooth as the results are impressive. To learn more, check out our partner's website at kohlerhouse.net, KOHLERHAUS.net. This episode is sponsored by Chansey Architecture and Interior Design. Rooted in the heart of Ybor City for over 35 years, Walt Chansey and his team are trailblazers in their field. Beyond their work across the United States and the Bahamas, Chansey has shaped some of the most iconic residential and commercial spaces that serve as gateways to Cigar City, including Casa Marti and Casa Gomez. What sets Chansey Design apart is their ability to preserve the soul and character of historic buildings while seamlessly integrating modern design and functionality. They blend tradition with innovation, creating spaces that honor the past while meeting today's needs. Check out their work at www.chanseydesign.com. You know, big sporting events or a central business district, and then people would just pack up and leave. And because of that, there was so much focus on the suburbs. You know, all the new roads went out there, all the services went out there, the focus went out there. And we've seen downtowns deteriorate. And if you look at an old picture of downtown Tampa from 1914, the streets, the ornate architecture, the variety of transportation, there'd be like people biking and on trolleys and walking, and there's stores, and it's like it was literally more vibrant 100 years ago than it is today. Now there's this growing like urbanism movement where people want to be back in their downtowns all across the country. It's not just Tampa. Tampa has a unique opportunity because we have so much available space. We have so many parking lots, so many underutilized parcels of land, so many buildings that could be thought of in a different way. And we still have that street network and that street grid. So if we all band together as a city and try to focus on building ourselves back up, we really could become the next iteration of a great American downtown.
Yeah. And it's definitely heading in that direction. And, you know, you should have someone more knowledgeable than me come in and talk about housing affordability, right? Because it's...
Well, here's the problem. When the experts of housing affordability, I think, are taking on too much more than they can chew. I think the private market is what will really be the help of housing affordability. And the more we put government dollars toward programs like that, and the more we partner with developers that are just strictly building affordable housing, we're never going to be affordable. We need to unleash the free market to be able to provide housing for people. At least that's what I think.
And like you said, have it be not just an affordable housing complex, right? It has to be mixed income and ground floor activation.
Someone at the forum said it. The gentleman, the developer of Blue Sky.
Yeah.
I think it was him who said, we don't have a housing affordability problem. We just have a housing problem. You know, let's not just look at this like housing affordability, affordable housing. It's like, no. We need housing across the board, you know, in general. Let's go to that list, David, that top 10, because I'd love to hit those points. That was like the perfect list of things to walk through.
Remember, it was only 9, and I threw in the 10 for whatever you wanted.
10 is a bonus. We'll hopefully we can hit the bonus number 10. Can we start with North Downtown Vision Framework? So one thing I've noticed the partnership has done recently is that Franklin Street corridor. And I'm sure we'll talk about that. That's number 3. But it relates to number 1 because
does.
that's how you get back and forth, right?
Every single one of these relate. You know what I mean? It's all.
But that's the whole
Yeah.
point, right? Like
Right.
everything has to be connected to
Yeah.
itself. So North Downtown Vision Framework. Now, when
Yeah,
when
go pull up Google Earth. That'll be the best.
When-
Oh, this is a good time for me to unveil my present to you.
Okay, Karen has a gift for me today. What do we have?
Has any guest ever brought you a gift before?
We've
Garrett?
had a few,
Oh, you have? Dang it. All right,
but
well,
never one that looks like a weapon. Now I'm like, is this a lightsaber?
it is a laser pointer. I thought that would be helpful for you.
That is perfect.
Yeah.
That is so perfect.
But here's the fun part. I know
Oh,
it's
wow.
not dark enough. I know you have kids, right? Or
Yes.
8 kids. So you can have a fun thing
Oh my God.
with different, can you see that?
Oh wow.
Or you can just kind of be boring and you can, you can pull off the end and just make it
And just do like the
one
one.
single point.
Oh,
and
beautiful.
look,
Oh my God. I feel like a teacher.
it's rechargeable.
Class, if you'll look to the board.
Well, you can choose whether to use it, but
Let me get my hands on this
it's
thing.
my gift to you.
Thank you for the wonderful gift.
You're
As you
welcome.
can see up here, let's use it, right? So when the partnership says the North Downtown Vision Plan, are you describing north of 275
No.
or this pocket right here
Yep. Yep.
where all of the roads kind of shift northbound?
Yeah, you're right. It is a little bit at an angle. Yeah, the boundaries are somewhat arbitrary, but basically for this particular vision framework, we chose the interstate as the northern boundary, the river and the Riverwalk to the west. We went to Nebraska to the east, and then to the south, we chose Twigs, but it could be further south than that. But we needed to have somewhere to start from. So we took a look at this area, concentrated look at this area, and what we found, the aha moment, was that 68% of this chunk of downtown is under public ownership.
Wow.
And that includes about a third of that is right of way, but you've got city, you've got county, you've got the Expressway Authority, you've got the school district, you got a couple federal buildings, and then you have some state properties. And even Hart has their Marion Transit Center up there as well.
What does that mean to you? I mean, that's a lot.
That means that there is a keen opportunity for some public-private partnerships. And our conversations so far with the Florida Department of Transportation, the City of Tampa, the county courts, everyone seems pretty interested and potentially, planning towards some big moves.
This includes the Ashley redevelopment plan,
It
right,
does.
with the Army Navy store, which
Yep.
is an amazing opportunity.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it also shows that the city should take any opportunity they get to purchase more real estate. It's not getting cheaper. And if the city can purchase real estate, there's so many options we have
Yeah.
to figure out a way
Yeah.
to redevelop an area.
Yep. And the CRA is a good tool for that. Exactly that strategy.
And so how does the different CRAs, because there's different CRAs downtown, how do they interact with the partnership in terms of like the CRA could maybe put the money up to purchase a piece of real estate, and then the partnership could come in and help with expressing that vision? Like how do the two entities relate to one another?
We collaborate with them all the time. We have there's 4 CRAs that fall within our special services district. So we have a staff member who is kind of a liaison to each of those. Are you wondering which are the 4?
Go ahead, tell me.
Well, you look like, so the Channel District, Central Park, which is the Encore area.
That's its own CRA?
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. Tampa Heights.
So this whole block is its own CRA.
Well, it's more than just the Encore development, but the Encore is kind of the biggest thing in the Central Park. Well, at least now. I mean, back in the day, Central Park before the interstate came through was, a thriving African-American neighborhood.
Put that little man down on the main street there in the Encore development, David, probably like right here. I'm already getting great
Yeah.
use of this laser pointer, by the way.
Ray Charles
And why
Boulevard.
green? Was there a reason why you got me a green laser pointer?
I don't. Maybe because I'm a tree hugger. I don't know. No, there was no thought into that.
Maybe red would have been hard to see. I feel like the green is perfect for the
Green
screen.
means go.
Green
right?
means go. I like that. Here's the thing with this Encore development, and it's gosh, I'm trying to figure out why a development like this took so long to get going. I believe the answer to that is timing. I think it was built during, I want to say right before the crash, right? Like I think the recession is the reason why Encore limped a little bit in the beginning, and then now why you've seen so much. And this is just me talking, right? Like,
Well, I mean,
but
it wasn't the first time this area was rethought. Have you ever, are you familiar with Ed Chiranchik?
mhm,
He was a county commissioner, Choo Choo Chiranchik. He was a
yeah,
big train supporter. I remember he tried to get something going in this area. I don't know, maybe the early 2000s,
yeah,
mid 2000s possibly. But the Tampa Housing Authority has done an amazing job, and they've really put a lot of care into affordability, into active ground floor uses. They know that they've needed a grocery store. It's a little bit of a food desert. But they had an offer come in, and they wanted to do a real suburban style layout of the grocery store development. So the housing authority told them no. So they're really trying to have urban.
So then what happened? Not that like, well, maybe on the West River plan, that Publix is built totally like a suburban development.
I know.
So what happened
Yeah,
there?
yeah. Um,
Not that that's your question to
yeah,
answer, but it's
yeah.
curious because you just said they
I
found a suburban plan
I
for,
had I had the same thought,
yeah.
and I don't know why it's was allowed there.
Yeah, it's right there on that corner. It's new, so it's not going to show up. Go back to Encore, David. Yeah, good, right? I mean, like, what are we building here? Are we building shopping centers for some suburban plan, or are we a real city? Like, let's
Hmm.
start acting like it, right?
Yeah,
And
and I
if
believe that the housing authority does have a grocer coming into the development along Nebraska.
this to me is a little bit halfway done. Go to the right. Yeah, go down the street. Let's see what they've got. What use is this? This is probably for the apartment's lobby.
Well, yeah, some of it is, and they do have a fair amount of vacancy on the ground floor. I know they have Precinct Pizza is there. I think that's the only food option I'm aware of. I believe they have a pharmacy. Uh, I think they have a Head Start program. They're really interested, and they have an RFP out right now for a theater. They really want that something that would be a draw, a community theater type group. I've heard jazz club floated around. So there's a lot of potential in this area yet.
Very interesting. Yeah, and then on the other side, David, some of that ground floor area. I'm trying to see, it's just curious, like why wouldn't there be a bunch of businesses interested in something like this? And I think it has to do with the way the buildings are designed and how they look. It just looks like it looks a little fake, right? With the colors. It wouldn't be what I would choose. I would go with a more classic design.
Mm,
However, they have to work within these affordable constraints, right? You can't just build Water Street, right? But look at this. There's no activation here. Like, and I understand you got to have a place for a parking garage. I understand you have to have a place for your deliveries, etc. But the problem with this sort of stuff is it just creates dead zones, and you're never going to get good economic development with ground floor dead zones. It's
yeah,
just going to
yeah,
look like Disney World. It just looks fake.
yeah. When you're doing a development in a tight grid like this, you have to pick your winners and losers as far as the streets go, which is your kind of your back of house street and which is going to be your primary pedestrian street. And it looks for the most part like they chose Scott. Oh, David, go to your right. Do you know about Meacham Urban Farm, right?
So we actually, I think, are talking with them this week.
Oh,
I'm very
good.
excited because
Yeah, it's
this is
so
a
cool.
very, very unique thing here in
We have
downtown.
a 4 acre working
A
farm
four
in our
acre working
downtown.
farm. I
It's
mean, look at this
insane.
thing. They've got bananas. They've got these like grow
Oh,
houses in
they
the
have
back.
chickens and honey, and they sell their produce
I can't wait to hear
Thursday,
how
Friday,
that was all
Saturday, Sunday, I
permitted.
think. Yeah, it's a really interesting story.
Yeah.
I won't. You can save it for them, but
Turn
it's a
around
gem.
though, David. I think you're right. These developers, they have to work within the confines of the code,
Yeah.
and they have to
Mm-hmm.
figure out a way to build this product and have it be ready for fire to sign off on it, right? And get the required number of parking, etc. So I think I think in some ways we've red taped ourselves into this box right here. And when you look at old pictures of any American city, like you're from Cleveland, you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, go look at Cleveland from
Yeah.
like 1920.
Yeah.
Some of the buildings were incredible.
Yeah. They still have a lot of their buildings, their historic buildings
They're
stock.
lucky. A
Yeah.
lot of ours have
Yeah.
been torn down.
Yes,
But
they
guess
have.
what? They're illegal to build. So when you tear them down, you can't rebuild
Yeah.
them. And so that's a sad thing. And I know we're going to be talking a little bit about historic preservation. But
And speaking of the little brick chapel there, you may know what on to the right, David. Yeah, the little brick building there, kind of set back. That's going to be a Tampa Bay History Center collaboration. That's going to be the African American History Center.
It's very
right in
cool.
there. It's a great little space. And this development's not done, so I'm sure it will. Some of the ground floor activation will infill as you get more people. Heads in beds, so they say.
You've also got, I think there's like a hotel coming. I think there's a couple
Yep.
new apartment complexes. It's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening.
And it's really a great corner that's kind of a transition between Gasworks and the rest of downtown. You needed something to go in here.
And then go to the left, David. Let me check out this activation here. Yeah, it's just not appropriate. Look at that. This could be a sort of cafe, and people could have tables and chairs outside to enjoy this beautiful park. I just think that there's a little bit of a low standard when it comes to stuff like this. And there's no reason why an affordable housing development that is controlled by government programs, there's no reason why it can't be just like any other nice area of town. It doesn't mean you have to have marble floors. I'm talking about the actual the way it feels when you walk down the street. So I hope in West River, Rome Yard, the future of Encore, I hope there's a little bit more of a dedication to the streetscape and to the experience a pedestrian has while walking through this area of this city. And from what you said with the grocery store, them like, hey, no, this is too suburban, sounds like they're headed in the right direction with that.
I think so. Yeah, these have been in place for a while. I would suggest that you have a conversation with Leroy Moore with the Housing Authority. He would probably love to talk to you about all of this. He was, I think, kind of a visionary behind this.
Yeah, I'll have to reach out to him.
And then this street, Ray Charles Boulevard, if you take it west, you're hitting kind of the rest of downtown. We'd like to continue that. It turns into Laurel Street once it crosses the park, and we'd like to continue that as for North Downtown. We'd like to continue that as our primary pedestrian street, our water street, our beach drive.
So go to the map, David, and let me see this area Karen's describing here. So zoom out, go north-south, and then, so what would become sort of a main corridor, you're saying?
So it's basically one block south of the interstate. See where it says?
This street.
Yeah, that's Laurel. There's some gaps that we need to figure out, but we think that's a great east-west connection from Encore to the Riverwalk.
I completely agree.
And what we found is that you can pretty much get from end to end, and then this chunk of downtown in 20 minutes. It just wouldn't feel that way right now because
you've got a
little
bridge over
desolate.
to the Julian B. Lane Park
Yeah,
too. Is there an
River Center.
opportunity to reconnect the street grid here?
Yes.
Because this is government owned.
Yep, that's the building that is surrounded by 3 sides on surface parking. That's a state-owned building. Yep, so we need to figure out a strategy to reach them to see what the options might be.
You've got to reconnect the street grid here. Absolutely. And I wonder now, would there be an opportunity to reconnect the street through the park?
I don't know. It's a question worth asking. And then you can kind of see, can I see the laser pointer?
Absolutely.
So this area right here, we'd like to have some grid realignment here as well. I don't really know the purpose of this, so you can get rid of that leg.
I know what it is. We want to move cars in and out of downtown as quickly as possible with complete disrespect for the city,
But I will
viability.
say we met with the Florida Department of Transportation, District 7, which governs our area, has a new head. They're called the secretary. We met with them recently because this is state-owned here. And, really what they're concerned about is, any changes you make to the grid, are they going to back up on the interstate? If they don't, DOT's like, I don't care. So we're working right now with the city and DOT to try to analyze this. And then this could be more redevelopment blocks down here too.
Wow.
And then this is a 300 and something surface parking lot that is owned by the downtown CRA, to your point earlier, that has approximately 12 cars that park in it every day. This is what's called the old jail site. I don't know if you have a memory of that, Garrett, but we used to joke those were downtown's only residents for a while.
No, the only memory of a jail I have is my dad throwing me in the Hillsborough County Jail when I was like 8 years old. And he's like, you ever get in trouble, this is where you're going to end up. I'm like, all right, noted.
Well, it might have been here. And
Maybe.
then, and then this is Oaklawn Cemetery, which is my favorite park in downtown. If you want to see where why all the streets are named what they are, you should go check out some of the gravestones
Interesting
there.
you just said favorite park.
I think of it as a park. And with our North End plan, we're kind of having to call it a park because there's not a whole lot of green space. You know, we've got
That's what Boston did, though. I mean, areas of Boston Common have grave sites. You
Yeah.
know, it's interesting that you said that. Like
Yeah.
maybe that's a way to rethink that in terms of like, you know, trimming the trees and making it a little bit more of a beautiful experience inside out and outside in. Interesting.
yeah.
Especially where it's located, right?
Right. And there's not a whole lot of other green space in this area.
Mm.
And we've got Perry Harvey, and then we have the Riverwalk on, you know, obviously over here. That's why one of the reasons why we're suggesting that Laurel could be, you know, kind of a heavily landscaped, wide sidewalks, all of that.
Is there a department or a team within the city government that looks at this as deeply as the partnership does?
The city does have a planning department, and we have worked with
Work
them
with
on
them on
this,
this sort of
but
stuff?
I don't know that they have the bandwidth to really dig in deep like we do.
Right.
But we can't do it without them,
Sure.
you know, obviously. So, but yeah, so kind of what our vision outlines for the North End is this could be, and this is Marion Transit Center, you know, the main transfer. I think there's
County owned?
17. It's actually city-owned land, but the Hart owns the buildings.
Mm.
And then this is just a surface parking lot up here. But what we're kind of envisioning is having some kind of big parking structure up here, which I would have never thought that Karen Kress would be advocating for more parking in Tampa's downtown, but here I am. But the reason I think it makes sense is we would have, you know, big parking structure here, and you know, put some kind of use on top, probably commercial on top. You could have it be the parking area for the district, so each block isn't having to kind of waste all that space. And then you could even move Marion Transit Center under it,
Mm.
so then that opens up basically all this land for a redevelopment as well.
You're so creative in your thoughts. I love it. I'm totally aligned with that. You know what it would do too? Parking is obviously a challenge for two reasons. One, the government actually,
Here, I'll give you that.
did you champion a parking minimum reduction downtown?
Yep, yeah, we did. We did downtown's first comprehensive parking plan, where we looked at kind of all aspects of parking, and one of those was, you know, what are the requirements? That was published in 2019. I think it was about a year later or so. We were able to convince City Council to cut the minimums in half in downtown. The conversation, I think, could still be had whether or not we just stay silent and let development build what it thinks it needs, or even go one step further and have parking maximums where the city is saying you can't build more than half a space per unit, or, you know, whatever the right ratio would be. So there's different camps for
I think
for
there's two
different.
things there. I mean, if the city, like you just described, would take on the challenge of building its own parking garage that could serve the district, and you also had no requirement by the city government that a developer has to build parking, you don't need a parking maximum because the developer, right, they can build a product and everyone can use that kind of local parking garage.
Yeah,
And parking is very expensive. Why would the developer build more if the city garage can handle their capacity?
right.
The garages that the city did 25 years ago in Ybor City are the reason why we have awesome, historic, really cool development in Ybor, like Casa Marti and Casa Gomez. Can you pull that up, David? That building exists in the way it does is because that developer, Daryl Shaw, decided, hey, I don't really need to shove a parking garage in this little block right here because the city garage is right behind it.
Yep.
Now, at the time, 25 years ago, I guarantee there were people that said, what the hell do we need this huge parking garage for? 25 years later, You've got a developer like Daryl Shaw coming in, building this amazing product
Mm-hmm.
that is high quality, speaks to the history,
Yeah.
has the ground floor uses, is very creative in its architecture, right? Go to the little man, David, on the street, if we can see it today. I mean, it's a beautiful building. And so if the city government could take on that parking challenge and allow the developers to
Mm-hmm.
be creative and
Yeah.
build cool product, obviously this is under
Yeah.
construction, but
Yeah. It's a beautiful
using real
building.
brick. I mean, in 100 years, this building will still be here and look exactly like all the other buildings in Ybor City. And we only got that because the city took on the challenge of parking.
And they made it look historic too with the parking garages. So
Exactly.
props for that.
I think the developers want to create beautiful, creative, adequate, beyond adequate products, but they're constrained by the government. And that's fair and fine, right? That's zoning, that's parking, that's fire code, right? All these sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the more you box in a developer, the less good products you're going to get.
Yeah.
They're going to be forced to build products that aren't for people or for experiences. They're for the code,
Yeah, the parking codes have been complicated. There's a development, 220 Madison, right by the CVS across from Lakes Gaslight Park. They really had to pivot their whole strategy and build student housing, all because of the parking requirement.
Yep.
And that was an old commercial office tower. Oh, there you go. Boy, he's fast. That had no parking. So,
Well,
yeah,
and the way they got around that is they designated the building historic, so they didn't have to abide by that parking standard.
that was part of it. And we did the historic photographs there on the windows. You can see the CVS windows. Yeah,
Right
those are
there.
all.
Did I blast you in the face? I'm
Those
sorry.
are all old what Franklin Street used to look like.
Yeah,
Those
Omar
pictures.
Garcia,
Yeah.
one of the
He's great.
developer and one of the partners on that project. He I guess he was kind of the driving
He
force,
was.
right?
He was.
And so, yeah, that was his deal. He explained it on the show. It's a really fascinating deal, but it's like if you force people to be that creative, I mean, I don't want to say bend the rules, but certainly like navigating the rule book, had a super bold, ambitious, creative, ballsy developer bought that building, that thing would have sat for who knows how long,
If
right?
it wasn't for Omar, yeah.
And so that's where I think some smart planning could come into the picture is like, let's look at this rule book. Like, is the rule book that we've built here, is it helping or is it kind of putting us in a position where we're stifling creativity and stifling guys like Omar Garcia?
Yeah.
Thank God he came along. Who
Yeah.
else would have done a
I
deal
know.
like that?
I know.
I mean,
I
the
know.
risk it took to buy an old office building with the parking minimums and all the other standards, right? It's
Yeah.
like, we're kind of only lucky to have some of these people
Yeah.
that we have operating in our
Yeah.
urban core. Back to where were we? The North Downtown.
And one other thing about parking
Yeah.
is well, probably not just one other thing, but there is a development going in at 801 Whiting that is building like 30 parking spaces total.
Okay, we've talked about this one a ton.
Have you? Okay. They're doing it in downtown St. Pete as well.
Let's actually find the name of it because they deserve a shout out. And it's
okay.
literally called 801 Whiting Street.
Yeah, I thought that.
Okay.
But and then they're also working with the Expressway Authority because there's a pocket park underneath the Selman Greenway that they'd like to try to enhance as well.
So this project, I think, was like one of the first things on social media we put out that went viral. Because I was like hemming and hawing about it and like, oh yeah, like this is what a real city needs, right? It was like a perfect size project for that little lot.
Yeah.
They didn't build a huge parking garage. They've got ground floor activation. They're being creative with their space, right? They're maximizing the space on the inside with this robotic furniture. I just thought it was very, very interesting. And I think the way they got around some of the parking was they provided like scooter parking, bicycle parking. They did some stuff like that.
That's a direct influence that we were able to have on them. We met with a developer because I don't know that architects really know how to design bike rooms yet. And I believe you're going to have Walk Bike Tampa and Christina Costa come on your program soon. So I was able to connect them with Christine, and she helped them really maximize the design of the bike room. And we do need to be planning for scooters and electric bikes and all this kind of thing now. So we're able to make it
100%.
work. But
Who's the developer, David? Scroll down. Where is it at?
his name is Craig Bazarski.
Landings Real Estate Group.
It's Bendon Road is how I know it. But
Bendon Road Development. Shout out Bendon Road. Super cool and creative. I think we should encourage any developer that comes in and thinks creatively about some of these parcels, because
yeah, and it would have just been easier though if they wouldn't have had to do all these kind of trade-offs to make the parking work. If they could have just been like, I can build whatever, as much or as little as I want.
you should be able to come into the city of Tampa and the urban core and not have to worry about parking.
Yeah.
The market's going to work itself out. A developer's not going to spend $100 million and build something that's not adequate and doesn't serve who that developer believes is going to be using that development. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. These people spend millions of dollars on studies, attorneys, and engineers and architects
They
to
do.
figure this
Yep.
stuff out, and
No
to
wonder
have the
it's so
city put it
expensive.
right, and to have because they're trying to work within this rule book that we've
Exactly.
placed.
Right.
And the bigger the rule book, the more these people have to
Yep.
spend to navigate that rule book, thereby going completely against city policy, which is, hey, we need affordable housing. So it's like
Right.
you can't do both of those things at the same time, and you certainly can't do both of those things and then just keep writing checks to these like affordable housing developments. That's not the answer to this stuff. So this is an awesome project. I'd love to see more areas of the city be able to create product like this, at least in the urban core.
And we, one of the recommendations in our parking plan was to do an annual update of the parking inventory and occupancy. So we took a little bit of break during COVID, but for the most part, there's 8,000 empty parking spaces at any given time.
Wow.
Like peak demand times, there's still thousands and thousands of empty parking spaces. So then it gets back to, are we sharing it well? And the answer to that is no. Like, this is my building's parking and my building's parking only, and I'm not open at nights and weekends, and it can be pretty frustrating. So as much as we can move to that kind of shared district parking mindset, the city already has several big parking assets in Tampa's downtown. So it seems like they could absorb a lot of that.
There's a ton of private parking too.
A ton.
A ton. Yeah, like going to the Walk Bike Tampa event on last Thursday evening, I parked at the Water Street garage and I went up floor after floor of empty reserved parking spaces, because after 5 o'clock and those businesses aren't using the parking,
Yeah.
there's empty spaces. Wouldn't that be nice if that could be used for events, restaurants, et cetera? That kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's the reason why parking is so expensive. It's like anytime you constrain supply and you have the same level or an increased demand, you have an increase in the price level. And so it's like the reason they can charge $20 for parking is because it's constrained.
Yeah.
Like if it was a sort of free market and there's like 8,000 empty parking spaces, it only costs like $1 to park.
Yeah.
And
Although you do want to price it so you encourage other modes too. We don't necessarily want to make it free or cheap, because then people are just going to jump in their car and drive to every trip.
you don't want to make it free or cheap. That's true, but you certainly shouldn't make it $20 or $30.
Yeah, no, I agree.
There's
I agree.
There's a line.
Yeah,
absolutely.
there is a line.
And so the partnership is studying these different lots and garages to figure out, okay, how much available parking is there at any given time, and then having an annual study.
Mm-hmm. And the answer is there's lots of available parking.
Why do people seem to think there's no parking? Like, why have I heard that a couple times?
You hear that from everyone. And that was one of the reasons why we started the study, is just to kind of figure out, is this a perception or is it reality? I mean, it's someone at the city used to say it's not a parking problem, it's a walking problem. So it's not necessarily right at your doorstep.
Right.
So
I just heard David go,
And honestly, the problem is not that we charge for parking in downtown Tampa. The problem is that we don't charge for parking outside of downtown.
okay.
Because again, you're basically favoring a car trip when you're giving free parking, and just the land that we're using up for surface parking and road widening, and it's like this vicious cycle. Parking impacts everything.
Oh yeah. I mean, even affordability.
Yeah, everything.
I want to say it's like, I'm probably making this up, but I'm pretty sure a developer told me, like a developer that would know the answer told me it was like $60,000 a spot to build.
I bet.
a parking structure.
Yeah, structured. Yep.
I mean, you talk about housing affordability. That is an incredible
Mm-hmm.
cost for a developer if they're required to put
Right.
that in.
Right.
Has
And
the
our block sizes are small. In downtown, we have, I think, us in Portland, Oregon, have some of the smallest block sizes. Like they're like 200 by 200, which is great for walkability, but bad if you're trying to squeeze a bunch of parking onto the lot.
And maybe so in the central business district core, you just completely eliminate that standard. That's what I'm trying to advocate for as a part of the land development code. I've asked Clarion, who's the
Mm-hmm.
organization who's helping the city rewrite the land development code. I'm like, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's a ton of municipalities that have actually eliminated parking, and the world hasn't exploded.
Right.
Like, we don't need to be the pioneer. Why don't we look to those areas and see how that's worked out, and then maybe try to implement something similar in Tampa? Has the partnership done? I know you've done the study. Have you done a study on what would happen if parking minimums were eliminated downtown?
Well, that was our recommendation in 2019. The city and city council weren't quite ready for that, so that's when we kind of came back with, well, let's at least half, lower by 50% what the recommendations are. But
What's
reading
the argument against it? What do they think is going to happen?
that people aren't going to that developments aren't going to build enough parking, and then the city's going to be forced to basically to deal with it and build another parking garage.
So what? We have that, right? I mean, we have the land, just build the parking garage.
I mean, it's you just talked about the prices of it, so it's not cheap, but that's where somewhere like a CRA might make sense, and then that would be revenue producing, because it can make money over
CRA's got the
time.
money too.
They do. I mean, a lot of it's been spoken for in downtown,
Sure.
and then as you mentioned earlier, who knows what's going on with with the state, and what's going to happen with the fate of
Wouldn't that
CRAs.
be an
But
incredible investment though if the CRA or some other, government funded program could take care of parking in a given area? Like, go back up to North Downtown. Let's just use that because that's a perfect
oh
example,
yeah, we're
because
supposed
it's
to be
sort of,
talking about that.
yeah, back to North Downtown. Like, if the city could take on parking for that area and you allow developers to be creative and build awesome developments, well, isn't that like a way better investment than, I don't know, spending 20, 30, 40 million dollars on whatever other things they're spending that money on? Like, to me, the individual developers that are going to be coming into this city and building awesome product are going to create a better urban core versus basically anything else. I mean, the whole going back to Henry Plant, like, was an ambitious guy that came to Tampa and did what he did. And today we have that beautiful, ornate Tampa Bay Hotel, which is the main plant hall of University of Tampa. You wouldn't have that without like a creative developer coming in and seeing a vision. And you have to incentivize those people to do that here. And man, if the city could just take that parking burden off that developer, and if the fear is, oh, well, then people aren't going to have a place to park, build a parking garage just like you did in Ybor City. You
Yeah,
probably need another parking garage on the east side of Ybor City now to encourage development on that
yeah,
side, because
yeah.
the west side's got a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you look at where parking garages are, that's where development is. No different from if you extend the trolley, where do you think the development's going to go? It's going to
Yeah.
go right on that trolley line.
Yeah,
So
another thing about it is, if you're like the Cumberland garage you mentioned at Water Street, maybe we're all in flying drones and 40 years and that building is not needed anymore. Then you can tear it down and totally redevelop it into something else. So I love the idea of kind of a standalone parking structure that you can then get rid of.
or do what I think Water Street did. Didn't someone from Water Street say that they built that garage where they could like reuse it
Oh,
at
like
some
convert it
point,
to
convert
something.
it?
Maybe.
Like, what if the city did that? Hey, we're going to build a structure where the bones could one day be transitioned to a city office, affordable housing,
Mm-hmm.
etc. And then for the next 10, 20 years, it's a parking structure.
Yeah, there it goes. There
Like,
it
be
is.
creative. Or guess what? We're going to build it as a parking structure, but we're going to engineer it in a way where we could actually build 10 more floors on top for housing one day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what we need to be thinking, like, decades and decades ahead.
I'm guessing that SPP probably did think about kind of the long-term future of that building. Maybe it does plan to have something on top. I don't know the answer to that.
Go back to North Downtown, David. because this area has me super excited because I just see massive opportunity. It's been so underutilized for so long, and it's and we can get into Franklin Street too. Like Franklin Street, that used to be our little main street. I mean, that's where people went Christmas shopping, right? And there was all these
It's the
department
place to
stores,
be.
and it's unfortunately it's gotten a lot better for sure in the last 10 years, even really longer. I guess since you've been here, since you showed up,
I'll
Franklin Street's
take
gotten
full
better.
credit.
But like that to me could be what like Central Avenue in St. Pete is, right? Where it's this constant you know, establishment to establishment, restaurant to restaurant, shop to shop area of downtown. We don't have that right now. Like,
We don't. We don't. I mean, I guess the closest thing we have maybe is the Riverwalk, which, is amazing on its own. But we chose Franklin Street because it has been the historic main street. And I'm going to read from my notes here. We surveyed 174 structures that were over 100 years old, that could be designated with some kind of designation for historic properties. Um, let's see, I think it's something like 70% of the buildings are over 50 years old. So we have
wow.
we have great building stock. What we don't have is we don't have a city who can keep up with an enhanced streetscape. So we're trying to go above and beyond what kind of basic city is. Other than Bayshore Boulevard, I don't think they really put a whole lot of time and effort into making grand boulevards. And we don't have the right mix of uses on Franklin Street. It's not that shopping, strolling, browsing street that it, I think, wants to be.
Yep.
So it has some good bones, but that's what we applied for some CRA dollars to help breathe new life into it. So that's what we're getting ready to get started on.
What's the street in Boston that has some heavy corporate commercial shopping? Even like there's like a big Old Navy, a Target, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also a little bit historic too. On the north side of it, there's a Chipotle and like a 300-year-old building, and it reminds me of Franklin Street. Franklin Street has this almost like southern oak tree brick road small town feel
Yeah,
in the middle of a city. It's very unique.
it's what makes Tampa Tampa,
Yeah,
right? I mean, we've got a lot of big glass luxury high rise being built, which is welcome, but
sure.
we also need to hold on to kind of not anywhere USA, right? We need to have buildings that make sense for us. And Franklin Street, I think, is the best example of that.
I think the largest opportunity, or one of the largest, really is that Kress block. Any affiliation, by the
I
way?
wish. I wish. I did offer to be the owner's mascot, and she just kind of looked at me funny, but
What's is there any sort of a story there and how the partnership can kind of help move that along? Because it's just sitting, right? I don't know if there's plans to redevelop it.
yeah, I mean, I believe that
Granted, it's going to be a heavy lift, right?
the good news is it's locally owned. And the woman who owns it, Carolyn Wilson, has, I think, the resources to make something grand, and she has great taste. She redeveloped, the vault and the gin joint. So
Mm.
think of how well designed that is. I'm sure the same will happen when she's able to really turn her attention to the Crest Block, which is 3 buildings.
So does she own the old bank on Franklin Street?
The vault,
That's the vault.
yeah, the event space.
Yeah, we looked at that for a wedding venue. It was super cool.
Yeah, it's a beautiful space.
She owns that.
Yeah,
Those are
she
some,
owns she owns that block, the Wilson building,
right.
and then she owns the Crest Block as well.
So put the man down there, David. I think it's right there on the right, isn't it? Or is that Tampa Theater? Let me see. No, Tampa Theater's there on Zach, in between Zach and Polk. So
Yeah,
Franklin
so
Street. What am I doing? Pointing. Jesus, I got a laser pointer now. Right there, David.
yep.
Yeah, put that man down there. Yeah, that Crest block. What an opportunity, but
hmm
going to cost a fortune to get that where it needs to be.
Yeah.
It's historic. It's going to come with a ton of challenges. It's going to cost, and it's probably a lot cheaper to tear it down and build new. But no one wants to see that.
Yeah, and she doesn't either.
Good.
And during the most recent storms, there was parts of the facade that actually fell off. So they're going to have to do something. But this corner right here is the old Woolworths, and you may know about the lunch counter sit-ins that were made famous. There was just a locally written play about it, When the Righteous Triumphs, and she's, I know, dedicated to, preserving that important part of history as well. So it'll be grand when it's done. I think the rumor is boutique hotel, but I don't have really inside knowledge on what it will be.
From your perspective, what would you like to see? I mean, personally, but more so, in order for Franklin Street to really have a catalyst. To me, this is like the armature works of Franklin Street, meaning it's like the place, it's the centerpiece.
It is.
It's the greatest opportunity.
It's a missing tooth in the smile right now is another way to
Absolutely.
say it. Honestly, my vision is exactly what Daryl did at the Kress Building in Ybor City, the Kress Collective. I would love for the Kress Building here to be kind of an arts collective, maker space, public gathering, and maybe it still could be, but something with the arts I think would go a long way here.
Which kind of ties into, right, you have Tampa Theater, and it's sort of in the River Arts District. I mean, it's right directly west, so you could drive some traffic and kind of have some synergy there. That makes sense. I think in order to get some real attention to it and to attract other retailers to want to be on Franklin Street, you need a little bit more intense of like a sort of marketplace and food hall use. Think armature works mixed with what Daryl's doing in the Gasworks Phase 1, where you could have like people selling local produce, people selling like little local shops, a couple little food concepts, and they're like really, really drive traffic.
It could be really fun.
And then you get retailers to look at that and be like, oh my God, this is amazing foot traffic. And then you start to see some action.
Yeah. And Keith Greminger, who did our North End plan, his vision is to do an Apple store in there.
An Apple store?
Yeah, which is like a totally modern use in a historic building, which, if you know anyone at Apple, you could let them know.
What's up, Steve Jobs, RIP? Can we see this North Downtown plan? So there's like an actual written plan?
There is. We don't have it published yet, but we were kind of waiting for our development forum. And you'll see something on our website in the very near future.
Oh, I thought we were going to check it out today. Dang it.
Google Earth is
good
enough for now.
Well, you've described it pretty well. I mean, I think that North Downtown, I mean, if you think about too, like available space, like zoom out, David, when you look at this area you've described, this entire pocket, I mean, that's the entire size of like the true central business district, like the dense part, or it's like, you could say it's what, like 3 to 5x of Phase 1 of Water Street. Just to give people an idea of the amount of space we're working with.
When we were first thinking about this, as you can imagine, one of the people we reached out to early on was Daryl Shaw, and he looked at this and he's like, no, because I first talked to him about a district parking strategy, and then he pulled out his laptop and he's flying around on Google Earth and he's like, I'm like publicly owned surface parking, and he goes, this is a mini Tropicana field site.
Wow.
So, I mean, he's not personally interested in developing it, but it's a really important connection to Gasworks and what's happening west of the river as well. So, yeah, it's exciting. There's also a whole conversation that we haven't focused on, and the kind of the southeast corner is all the county-owned properties. So you've got, County Center, you've got the Rampello Downtown Partnership School, you've got the school district building, you have all the courts.
All this.
Yeah, in 2016, I think it was, Hillsborough County did a courts master plan that I believe they're talking about updating now. So there's also, some potential big plays in this corner.
Well, you also have to have the place for government, right? Tampa's the seat of the Hillsborough County government, so they're always going to need their space, and they're probably not going to want to give it up to other development, no?
I don't think so. I think they'll always have a role downtown.
Sure.
Whether they want to build some kind of more regional county centers in different areas might make sense. But I mean, look at that surface parking right there.
Man, I would have loved to see the city of Tampa do a tower, much like Hillsborough County did, or some other type of structure like that instead of that one in East Tampa.
City center.
Yeah, like keep it in
in the city center.
Keep it in Keep it in the urban core. I mean, just my opinion, but I thought that would have been interesting.
Yeah, there was a lot of opinions on that.
So from what you described, like this is all county owned, right? This lot,
Yep.
here's the school board.
Yep.
I think this is legal, right? This is all courthouse,
Yep.
courthouse.
Courthouse.
And then that's Tico, no?
Yeah, I think that's the
Substation,
substation.
which like there's something there too. I know that in Gasworks, they've put a lot of that underground, and it's kind of interesting. They have this, I don't even know what it's called. It almost looks like a huge palm tree that captures the electricity in the area and then puts it underground. And then there's not going to be any power lines in Gasworks Phase 1. It's all going to be underground. And I would assume that site could be developed one day as well.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, I'm not exactly sure how that works, but there's another opportunity there.
And that's one of our next steps for the north end too, is figuring out what is the infrastructure of the utilities then to make it easier for new development to come in. We never even talked about our DASH program, but we had to have electric vehicle charging stations added to the building where the cars sleep at night. And it was something to have, we had to have extra power actually run to the building in order to be able to, charge the cars at night. So we'll talk about DASH since
Let's talk about DASH. Is DASH your baby since you are in charge of transportation at the partnership?
Well, yeah. So, yes, DASH is our micro transit program. We have 6 electric vehicles. We have 24 virtual hubs. So they're pickup and drop off locations. So everyone has to walk a minute or two to get to one of the pickups. We hope that this is like the gateway drug to transit. We charge $2 a passenger, which is the same price as it costs to take the city bus. And we run 7 days a week, morning till night. So this particular one is the Tampa Heights hub.
And if someone wants to take DASH, how can they do it?
They have to download the app, put in all the information, and then after that, you're typing into the app where you want to get picked up and where you're going, and it'll tell you which hub to get to and turn by turn instructions, and easy peasy.
And the reason why it's select pickup and drop off is for efficiency, meaning you can keep that cost lower. Like it's not like Uber where you can just be anywhere, right? You have to be picked up and dropped off at specific locations.
Right. So we basically are applying the lessons that we learned when we ran a predecessor called the Downtowner. That was free. It was on demand, and it was point to point.
Little golf carts, right?
We started with golf carts, street legal golf carts,
Right.
which were not cheap. And then, we moved to Chevy Bolts, all electric Chevy Bolts with that program. That basically kind of died during COVID. But the other benefit of having the pickup and drop off designated locations is that about 25% of our rides are now shared. So if the trip logistics makes sense for you to pick someone else up along the way, or 2 people who are going to a similar destination, we'll basically force them to share the ride. The other nice thing is we try to be a complement to transit. So if your trip logistics could be delivered via the streetcar service, then the app will tell you to take the streetcar.
Tons of pickup and drop offs. I mean, how many did you say?
There's 24 total.
Wow.
So we think it's pretty well spaced out. We've, adjusted them a little bit here and there based on demand. Water Street is our number 1 pickup and drop off location. Marion Transit Center, the main bus terminal, does get a lot of use as well. So, it's been a great program.
It's fantastic. It's awesome. And it makes me think that all of the people that are super gung-ho about light rail and expanding the streetcar, which I'm definitely in that camp, but technology might advance quickly enough to where maybe you could almost skip that and we could just have these autonomous vehicles that could pick you up and take you anywhere you need to go, even beyond singular use. Like imagine something the size of the streetcar, maybe a little bit smaller than a city bus that was autonomous and could hold 25 people, that could kind of just zoom around town in a dedicated lane, maybe.
Yeah. That's the only way transit's ever going to be really adopted is if has a time advantage.
Yeah.
Right. So until you get its own lane, that's one of the nice things about the Streetcar Extension. And then there's a bus rapid transit study that's going from downtown to USF. A lot of that would be in its own lane.
Would that be along Route 1?
Yeah. along Florida Avenue.
So the process with Route 1 would be like, hey, fund it, make it free, see if you can incentivize rides. And then the next step is, well, make a dedicated lane so it doesn't have
Right.
to wait in
Yeah.
traffic. And then from there, it's like a real dedicated lane with like curbs and stuff. And then maybe one day that's an autonomous system.
Yeah, it's hard to know
Yeah.
where that's going to land, but it was very strategic of Council Member Lynn Hertak to designate the Route 1 to use the city parking revenue toward making it free. That's going to make our application for the streetcar extension better because we're going to show more ridership. And then Route 1 was already Hart's busiest route, and it has a ton of connections, east-west connections that run with it. So, by
Yeah,
the way, you
that
can take Route 1 to get to your office because it turns into the Route 5 and drops you off
here?
here.
Where's
Yeah,
the stop?
yeah. I don't know exactly where the stop is, but it's right around here. It's within walking distance.
David and I have talked about doing that. Like even like, bringing the camera along and showing people what it's like.
Yeah, that would be
I've never
amazing.
taken it, I mean, where I live, I don't even know if there's a bus stop down in, like Ballast Point area.
There probably is.
Probably on Del Mabry.
Until it's kind of like riding a bike too. Until you've taken transit or ridden a bike, you don't
Right.
really notice those things. But once you start
Yeah.
doing that, you're going to start to see them all over.
Yeah, we're going to start to do stuff like that. I want to kind of understand how it works at that like rider level,
Right.
from a rider level, like what's the actual experience like,
Yeah. Well, then the other thing, just like for instance, one of the things that we did was reach out to all of the big cultural institutions in downtown Tampa and ask them to not only include car parking directions on their website, you know, say where your bike racks are, or say that you're on the streetcar route, or give a link to Hart's website. For all of our big events, we always encourage people to take Dash there, walk there, take transit there, et cetera. So we got to get out of that, assuming people are driving for every trip kind of mode that we've been in.
What do you think about our waterways and how they could be used
Oh my
as a
gosh.
transit asset?
Yeah. I mean, the Pirate Water Taxi is maybe filling a little bit of that need right now, but it's not really a true, it's more transportainment. I was sad to see the Cross Bay Ferry go, partly because my son worked there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he worked in the ticket booth. But yeah, I mean, congestion proof transportation, right? So I don't know I'm not sure why it's kind of like the streetcar extension. Why is it taking us so long to get this going too?
Well, I think in that particular instance, that operator
Yes,
went against
I
the
agree.
contract, right? And
I
so
agree.
Hillsborough County got rid of it. But Hillsborough County, I don't think they don't see it as a viable option. I completely disagree. I think our waterways could be our a total transportation asset. We should have a ferry from McDill over to Apollo Beach. You should be able to go downtown to Ballast Point. I mean, why not use the water? It's
Yeah.
like you could get high speed ferry systems and even one day auto ferries.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about Seattle
Oh my
earlier.
God, right?
They've got that figured out.
As well as the Northeast, like areas like Boston
Oh
and
yeah.
New York, and there's ferries all over up there.
Yeah. In fact, our boat, you may know that our Cross Bay Ferry boat actually came from New England
Okay.
when it wasn't being used
Yeah.
in the winter. So that's how we were able to kind of have it down here. But
I think Pinellas is going to try to buy a couple ferries and do it themselves.
yeah, we have to get the Hart board to transfer the Kathy Castor secured $5 million grant to PSTA.
We love that federal money.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's on a good path to happen.
Yeah.
And PSTA has really kind of stepped up and taken a regional lead on some of these projects. So fingers crossed.
Well, let's hope Hart can do the same. I mean, we need Hart to step up and do the same, right, for our community here, and maybe they can work together too. in the
Yeah. I mean, I
future,
think
deeply.
Hart seems like they're getting more and more stable. They had a rocky decade,
Yeah.
I would say, but Scott Drainville, who's their current head, he comes from an operations background. He seems to be what Hart needed.
Yeah, I've heard that a
So,
lot. I hear he's a really solid guy.
yeah, I think he's just kind of honest and is going to tell you, he's not a politician or,
Good. He's what do you know his background? He probably comes from transportation background, I'm sure.
yeah, I mean, I think he worked in transit operations.
Good.
So,
Good. Well, I think they just increased. They voted to increase what is it half a mil?
it is, but it has to be voted on.
Oh, I know, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean for
right.
Hart,
Yes, half a
right?
mil.
They've approved that.
Right.
Now it's going to go to the cities and then the county and then the voters.
Yep.
So hopefully it checks all
I
those
hope
boxes.
it's one of the most underfunded transit agencies for a county our size. I think there's more school buses on the street than there are HART buses. I mean,
Wow.
it's insane. And on your property tax bill, you'll notice that you actually pay more to the library than you do to the transit agency. And I'm a big fan of the public library, but it's just crazy. We're paying more to the library than
And
for
think
transportation.
about it too. Everything we've talked about today takes money.
Yeah.
You know, and there's two conversations. It's like, where do we prioritize, number one, but then also we're probably underfunded just in general on a lot of these things that we're talking about. So both, like, we need more money, and then we also need to allocate it into
Yeah.
the proper places too. Go back to the list, David. Where are we at? I feel like we've jumped around a ton.
We've covered a lot.
The parking thing is so fascinating. Is the partnership basically only doing that annual study at this point, or is there actually a deeper dive into like a real policy change and what the effects of that could be?
What do you mean about the code changes or
Yeah.
just anything?
Code changes. I mean, actually evaluating what would happen if they were eliminated.
Yeah, we haven't done that, but honestly, it's a pretty good idea to put some numbers and data behind it. And we have a team member, Casey Bauer, he's like a master of finding data. So I will take that back.
Casey, get her done. Shout out Casey. Yeah, we even talked historic preservation. We've lost so many buildings in downtown Tampa. Some of the old pictures of our downtown, it's like sad to look at.
Yeah.
I feel like we've lost at least over half of them.
Yeah, probably.
And so when you say historic preservation, vacant, abandoned, derelict buildings, what can the partnership do to incentivize that they stick around for a lot longer?
We're looking into that. Historic preservation is a new focus for us. I'd say, a couple years ago, we basically did like a data collection. Okay, well, how many historic buildings do we have in our downtown? How many actually are protected? I think we have 3 historic districts. So there's, and there's some very passionate advocates who have been working on this for decades.
Good.
But how can we prevent more buildings from being torn down? And we just had an intern do some research on the vacant, abandoned, and derelict buildings, VAD for short, and trying to work through what could be some both incentives and disincentives, to redevelop those buildings. We talked about parking earlier, all this adaptive reuse kind of stuff. So this is a new focus for us. We haven't quite figured it out yet, but there's been a community-led discussion. Bobby Crichton lives in, I think, North Ybor, and he sees a lot of slumlord kind of activity. And he started just he's a speech therapist by trade, I think, and he just found an interest in this, and somehow he and I found each other. So now we're trying to work together to figure this out. We don't really have like the slumlords, but we do have some vacant buildings who have been sitting there empty for decades, and they're just deteriorating, and they're going to get to the point where they kind of have to be torn down because it's a public safety hazard.
Yep.
But how can we prevent that?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. The Jackson House has that issue where it's been kind of kicked down the road for so long. At this point, you can't even save it. Like, you'd have to rebuild that thing entirely.
I don't know how it's standing.
I don't know how either. I hope it passes through another hurricane season, and I hope they can get rolling on that.
Yeah.
Did you finish everything about South Downtown Vision? I mean, describing.
No, we didn't even talk about that.
Well, wasn't that the county area you described?
Nope. Nope.
Well, gosh dang, David, pull that map back up. Let's talk about South Downtown.
So this is kind of what we want
to
to do next. We feel like, we have a handle now on the North Downtown. So go south toward the convention center.
And when the partnership is describing South Downtown, exactly where do you mean?
Okay, so here's the things that I think, here's the opportunities that I see for South Downtown. The convention center just finished a study talking about the economics of expansion. I have not seen it yet. It's supposed to be presented to City Council on June 5th. So we've got that topic. You have the Expressway Authority. You can kind of see those ramps right now. You're kind of taking up a whole block. Here, you want to give me the laser pointer? So you've got this area. This is locally owned. And the owner has been kind of saying, what's going on here? But there's a potential for convention center expansion kind of going this way.
not many other places you could go.
No, I mean, you could
And for those
potentially
just
go up,
listening,
but
you probably understand where she's talking about. It's right on the south side of the Selman, those 2 blocks.
yeah. So then we've got SPP with some future expansion.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's, also a key stakeholder. You've got an old city parking garage right here, Whiting Street garage, that's like 3 stories, I think. And then look at this giant surface parking.
That's at this point a historic building. That Whiting Street parking garage, that thing's like from the 50s, isn't it? Super old.
So, yeah. And then you also have the Whiting Street garage. This is Marion Street, which we also didn't talk about yet, which is kind of like the main transit corridor. So then you could extend that, get a little bit south to to Whiting, which has some potential too. So there's, no, that is Roraine. Whiting's here. So it just, if you look at this area holistically, there's a surprisingly amount of redevelopment opportunity or just flat lots that could be looked at. So
I'd love to see SPP do a hotel on the section you described
right here.
on one of the north blocks
Yeah.
of where Amelie Arena is.
Here, I'll
And
have this one
actually,
too.
yeah, thanks for the laser. We'll have to keep this thing handy for this episode for sure. And imagine like you could walk from the hotel and they would have bridges, air conditioned covered bridges, much like you have at the JW and the other Marriott and Water Street, this
Yep.
little bridge. Imagine if you could walk through sky bridges
Yeah.
from Water Street all the way to this convention center. I mean, kind of what you've described, that could happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the convention center has to expand, right? Like I've heard many different times on this show that we're losing out on a ton of opportunity with conventions.
Yeah.
And
I'll say something that I don't know, maybe is controversial and maybe it's just completely wrong, but maybe 10 years ago, the port did a master plan and they looked at the future of the cruise industry. And, they said, a boat hasn't been built since 2010 that can fit under the Sunshine Skyway Bridge or what, I might have the year wrong. But anyway, all the cruise ships are getting, bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And we don't know what's going to happen to our cruise industry. There was talk about, raising up the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. I don't know whether you followed that at all or not, but well, it turns out the cruise industry is just fine with the smaller ships. I think they're serving well over 1 million passengers a year out of Tampa. So it just kind of makes me wonder. I do hear the convention center has to expand, and there is kind of a lot of wasted space there that could be, I think, reworked. But maybe we're okay with being kind of a niche, medium-sized convention market. I mean, I don't know whether you've ever been to some of the giant ones in Orlando or Fort Lauderdale, or they're kind of terrible. They're just these giant spaces. So I don't know.
no, it's a good point. And then I think from a regional perspective, anyone, probably including yourself, correct me if I'm wrong, but would say, yeah, it's good for the region. I think the question is, does it belong right on the waterfront downtown, taking up,
Yeah.
3 times the space it does now?
Yeah.
And the answer is probably no, right? Like maybe for this site in particular, that's all we really should focus on in that location.
It would,
Because I know you
yeah.
can't build on top of it.
I feel like engineers can figure anything out, but I think that does seem to be the mantra.
Santiago Carrata said that it was designed in a specific way, and they've kind of looked at that, and you
They
can't.
have looked at it, at least to the south by the Sail Pavilion. It's
Anything's possible with a big enough check, right?
maybe, but they have done a good job of giving hangout space on the water. All those boat rentals are there. The Sail
True.
Pavilion, that's all been wildly popular. If the convention center were to just go away and relocate somewhere else, I would be concerned what would happen with that space. Would it still have good public access to it? I don't know. I'm
I
not
think
sure
it
what
should
would
be
happen.
I mean, in my opinion, if it did go away, it should be a massive park. That's
Oh,
what I think. Now, you're going to have a lot of developers eyeing it,
yeah,
obviously,
yeah,
but I think
that'd be amazing.
one thing downtown is missing, and this could be an interesting part of the conversation too. Like, what do you think downtown is missing? But in my opinion, the reason I say park for the convention center, that location, is because Tampa doesn't have like an Olympic park, like a big park in on the downtown peninsula. I mean, we have this like linear park over here.
Coat and Chobe.
What is it called?
Coat and Chobe.
Coat and Chobe.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean though? Like I think that we could use an opportunity to have a large park that could host like music festivals and large festivals outdoor. I think Julian B. Lane's probably the closest thing
Yeah.
we have to that, but it's on the other side of the river.
Mm-hmm. I would
And
not argue with this becoming a giant park.
yeah,
Yeah, that would be amazing.
be beautiful, right? Right there on the water. All the events you could do. Um,
It's funny you asked what does downtown need.
yeah.
That's where my job gives me a little bit of perspective because early on, it was you ask people said downtown needs a grocery store. Now we have several, and then it was downtown, or maybe I have it backwards. Maybe it was downtown needs a Starbucks. There was a day where downtown needed a Starbucks, and I think we're okay with those now.
8 of them, yeah.
Yeah. So I think downtown needs more small businesses. I think we need like a Janice Live kind of concert venue, Crowbar
Yep.
kind of vibe. I think
Yeah.
we definitely need something like that in our
Completely
downtown.
agree.
Yeah, we just need more things for people to do.
We've talked about SPP, and you brought up earlier Daryl Shaw in the north section of downtown, how you kind of talked about him about that area.
Mm-hmm.
I think to your point is small businesses and small developers, like developers that are playing that little small parcel, right? Like
Or adaptive reuse.
adaptive
in
reuse,
historic
right? Like
buildings.
just
Mm-hmm.
small in general, like
Yeah.
small businesses, small developers, small investors, small stakeholders that all come together. The big developers on the show are like, there's only so many huge developments that can go. It's all about the in between. For the large developments to be successful, they need placemaking in between. You need the mom and pop coffee shop. Like you need the little people to
The
make a
third
bet on
places,
like
yeah.
a breakfast place or something
Right.
downtown.
Yep.
If
And maker spaces.
100%. If you don't focus on that, you're just left with like these large destinations with nothing in between. In order for those huge developments to be super successful, and in order for our whole urban core to be like a really great city, is you have to have that connectivity. And what's the walk like from Water Street to the Central Business District
Yeah.
now? You know,
Yep.
what's the walk like from the CBD to
Yep.
Gasworks?
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be pleasant, and
Not
it's not
yet.
pleasant right now. And
Right.
so I think really building from the ground up in those smaller people, just small, ambitious people that want to be a part of our downtown, help them with whatever project they're working on.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there's only so many people like Miss Wilson, right, who has her role on those blocks. Well, I guarantee she would be a champion of other small businesses along Franklin Street to kind
sure.
of help
Yep.
with that whole vision.
And access to Harbor Island is also kind of a hot topic right now. Just congestion around the convention center has gotten pretty bad, so that's really on the city's radar. In fact, we office at Rivergate Tower. People have been calling it the beer can building. I like the tall boy. I heard that recently. But anyway, I was on the
That's funny.
I biked to work recently, and I was in the elevator with another guy who had a bike, which was kind of funny. And I was like, "Where are you coming from?" And he said, "Harbor Island." I said, "How long does it take you?" He said, "It takes me 6 minutes from door to door." I said, "What about when you drive?" He said, 25 minutes.
Wow.
So
4 times as long.
yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. And people forget to factor in how long it takes to park and
Oh yeah.
ramp up and all that kind of stuff too. So yeah, he was pretty gleeful when he was telling me.
You know, another really awesome new technology is like Emoto, right? Like these e-bikes, these e-scooters. I know Emoto doesn't sell e-scooters, but some of that battery technology and electric motor technology is so good now.
Yeah.
You can buy a badass little e-bike because traditionally it's like, okay, well, we're in Florida, like I'm not gonna bike to work in my suit. Well, on these little e-bikes, you can get the breeze
Yeah.
going. You know, there's no
Yeah.
pedaling involved. Like it.
I wasn't bought in on the e-bikes until my son won. The city of Tampa did a lottery. My son won one of them. He has an e-bike, and borrowed it, and it's so much easier to think, oh, I could bike this because
Mm.
it's just that much easier.
You just press a button.
My only issue with that is that we cannot have that on the sidewalk. It's
Mm-mm.
not fair to the pedestrian.
It's not safe.
It's not safe. So I think we need to, that's kind of one of the next things we're going to need to address is where's the space? I think, have you ever been to the Netherlands?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the reason it works so well there is it's really separate but equal. You have your space for walking, your space for biking, your space for the bus, and then yes, they still have space for cars.
All of it can be accomplished on between building and building. And I think that really expresses itself on Bayshore Boulevard, because on Bayshore, so just do a top down on Bayshore, David, real quick to see the space, and go to like a southern section south of Rome Avenue. You know where that is, David? David, I'm going to give you like a quiz one day, and we're going to, so zoom in down here, like down, what am I doing?
He's not
Pointing
even
again.
from here. He's doing pretty well.
Down here, like zoom in right here, David.
Look at that laser pointer.
So that's the Monte Carlo condo. Zoom in all the way in. Now, when I drive down, first of all, when I drive down Bayshore, this is the separator right here where
I
the bike lane
know.
is, okay? You have all this green space. It's just grass. It's all muddy. You got people tracking through. And then you have this small sidewalk. This entire thing should be rethought. Right here should be the curb. Do not change the traffic lane. Traffic lanes can stay the same. Right here should be the curb. This entire area should be bike and e-bike, one wheel, whatever, exclusive. Some sort of a separator. That could even just be paint. And then from where the laser is in the middle of the grass, all the way over should be sidewalks. Because what I witness is,
Can I have the pointer?
oh my gosh,
Go
I'm gonna
ahead.
have to buy you one. When's your birthday? Imagine like when I drive down Bayshore, I see so many different people using it. I see women with a stroller and a baby, people on rollerblades, families like all together walking and pointing at the dolphins, people exercising, people jogging.
And there's no parking at Bayshore.
There's no
Somehow they
parking.
find a way.
Exactly. But here's the thing. People are skipping over one another. Like people on bikes are like dodging the pedestrians. People on rollerblades don't really have a choice. They have to like kind of risk it and keep their momentum on the sidewalk. The people running and walking and jogging oftentimes have to go into the grass to go
Right.
around people.
Yep.
Look at the available space.
Yep.
This should be a true linear trail. You don't have to touch the flow of traffic, but right on the right side, you could utilize that whole thing for like a multimodal lane of travel, from e-bikes to e-scooters to those one wheels to people exercising to moms with their kids and dads with their kids, like all the above. And I think the same thing can be thought of most streets in the city.
Yeah. I
Like
agree.
if we just have all these lanes of travel for cars and then these small sidewalks, that's dangerous, that's inefficient. It doesn't help the businesses on those roadways. We should be expanding the sidewalks and try to figure out a way where all those different uses could be combined into one. Because let's face it, that technology is only going to improve. Like you're going to get bicycles that can go like 150 miles one day.
You're not wrong. Yeah.
So I think in downtown, those streets should be kind of the same thing. I think you're right. I think it's completely dangerous to have these e-bikes that can go 25 miles an hour, potentially hitting a pedestrian.
Yeah.
It's not the right way to do it. And you kind of don't want to shove them all in traffic either. I think the way you do it is you have literally like a bike road, like
A bicycle highway.
yeah, like a bike highway, like an e-bike highway.
So I was just going to say, this is not my vision. I mean, I did not come up with this idea, but what if we just take all of this and get rid of it? And then this is a two-way road.
How do I get to work though, Karen?
You ride your bike over here with no cars in your way.
Well,
Anyway, it's a big idea that I don't know that it would ever happen, but it would be.
and then this becomes north-south traffic.
This is
That's just like
bi-directional.
one way. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it would be a world-class park space.
Oh my God.
we got
It'd be
rid of that,
incredible.
so.
It'd be incredible. And I think, well, here's the thing. You've got the room.
Yeah,
right? Like if you zoom out, David, this entire Bayshore Boulevard is huge. It's such a gem. I mean, when you really think
it
about
is.
Bayshore
It is.
Boulevard and other cities even around the
Mm-hmm.
world.
But imagine if that was all park space.
Yeah. You know, another idea I had, zoom in, David. Sorry, you're going to need to stretch your fingers after this episode, but look how much room is in the center. What if this was a
Mm-hmm.
bike,
Yeah,
like
no,
a bike
I like your
highway?
idea. That would be a good compromise idea.
You know, I think you could totally rethink it. I just see massive opportunity.
Yeah, and I am a road cyclist. I actually have a certification to teach bike safety. I'm like that dorky, but I don't feel comfortable biking on Bayshore because, like you said, there's not that physical separation in any way.
I wouldn't bike on Bayshore or frankly any road in Tampa. I'd be too scared to. And I probably wouldn't let my children either until things change. And there's a little bit more of a dedicated approach to things like this. There's no reason why you couldn't put a protective barrier right
Hmm.
here for
But
the
somewhere
bicyclists.
like the green spine, the cast cycle track, you'd feel comfortable there. Yeah.
100%,
Okay.
a
Good.
100%. But I am curious because I drive by that area and I don't see a ton of people using it. And I think partly because it's new and people need to, first of all, know that it exists. And
Yeah.
second of all, that it is safe, very safe,
Yeah.
completely protected. I mean, you have
Yeah.
your own traffic light.
Well, in the city, I think part of it too is we're finally, because everything is built in increments, and we're finally seeing those increments connect to other things. And, the city's expanding it right now up past New Seal Parkway.
Yep.
So, as you get more and more of it, but it's hard to have something that's maybe half a mile long, um, and have it be successful that early. It has to really kind of keep connecting to other things, but we're getting there slowly but surely.
We're getting there. And even if we don't, I like it because it saves the right of way for maybe a nice little trolley line through the urban core,
True.
a little streetcar line. Yeah, I mean, in what I just described, like imagine that would just be the side of Bayshore and then continue with the sidewalk, you know?
Yeah, I
And
like that.
I wonder if it's because Bayshore is a county road, they wouldn't do it there. Because the reason I say that is like, okay, well, I drive down this area and there's a couple people using it for sure. But then you go on Bayshore and there's like literally like thousands of people there. Like, why
Yeah.
wouldn't that be the place
Yeah.
you do a protected bike lane?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I mean, also Riverwalk is another conundrum. It's
Not
so well
good.
used. It's
But
so
it's
well used.
but you can't have people going fast on the
Exactly.
Riverwalk and then
The
people like
official speed limit
sightseeing.
is 5 miles per hour
Yeah.
on the Riverwalk. So, yeah, I mean, right now the shared bikes and scooters are not allowed on there, but the personally owned stuff, yeah, I don't know how. I don't want to solve the problem by kicking off anything motorized, but you also have to, respect the pedestrians, the people strolling, the dogs, like you said, the baby carriages, and
It's a safety thing. I mean, you
yeah,
can't have people going fast on the Riverwalk and turning
right,
a corner and God forbid
right.
hitting a child or something like
But
that.
but what Bayshore and the Riverwalk show is there's so much pent up demand for these safe spaces.
Huge, huge demand. I mean, you could go down there right now, midday on a Tuesday, and there's probably a ton of people out
Yeah.
enjoying it. It is interesting, you're right, because, and you probably remember this, but like 20 years ago, like when I was a kid, I remember going to Bayshore a lot, but well, there was no Riverwalk, I guess, when I was a kid, but I don't remember people really going downtown to enjoy the waterfront at
No, they
all.
didn't. Yeah.
And now it's the greatest feature. Like it literally is downtown's greatest feature is that it's on the water.
It wasn't until that Kennedy segment got done underneath the Kennedy Bridge that really connected the north with the south.
Hmm.
Again, it's that incremental development, the 40-year overnight success, right? That your grandpa played a role in. Have you had anyone talk about the West Build and what's going to be happening on the west side of the river?
A couple elected officials have talked about it and given their sort of opinions on the budget. Nothing towards like the actual
I
technicals
mean,
or
the
the vision.
vision is basically from Bayshore up the whole west side of the river to Columbus and then back down.
Can you pull up what's the name of the company that is working on that?
Oh, Haskins, right?
Yep, Haskins, West River. Type that in, David. Massive opportunity.
Oh my God, it's amazing. I mean, can
So
you imagine
exciting. Yeah.
from Bayshore, past University of Tampa, Ricks on the River, that whole West River development. It's gonna
Super
be
exciting.
amazing.
And all the parks along the way too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And the nice thing about the grant they got for the West River project is that it also includes safe connections to get to it. So it's some traffic calming, some street calming,
there's a
east
ton.
west.
I think there's some road work as well included, as far east as I want to even say Armenia. Like there's a lot in
Yeah.
there. It's not just the Riverwalk. Like
Correct.
it's a pretty big
I
plan.
think from what I understand from talking to City of Tampa staff, that's why we got the grant, is
Yeah.
because of the safe connections to get to it.
Right. And that's what makes it really cool. I think a lot of people misunderstand it to be this like $60 million just Riverwalk, but no, there's a ton included there that we should be super happy about.
Yeah.
Did you find it, David?
I did. Their website's not working though.
Okay, just do you could just do Google image. Because one thing I want to talk about is the Platt Street Bridge as a part of this West Riverwalk plan right there on the top. Haskell. That's actually the website, David. Just hit visit, see if it pops up. Well, there you go. That's it. But go back because you can get bigger pictures on Google Image. I don't know if you'd have to like download it or whatever. You could just zoom in. This is fascinating to me because this right here is a problem, right? This intersection's a little bit of an issue. It's an issue for traffic, but it's also an issue for people. When people are coming down the bridge and trying to get on Bayshore, this right here is such a pinch point. In this plan we're looking at, there's a lot more concrete, right? A lot more room for people. And they've also, what is it? Better crosswalks, this like whole new intersection here, along with a river walk that connects Bayshore under the Platt Street Bridge to, I forgot the name of this park across from Publix. And then redesigning this park as well. So super exciting project. Is
it Tony Janice Park? I don't remember. Anyway,
you could Google Earth
matter.
map it. Is this like 90% going to happen? Where are we at on this? And from the partnership's perspective, why are you guys excited about it?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's just the connectivity that it brings. Plus, like you said, the new public space. I don't know. I mean, I know that there was some questions being asked at city council, probably fair questions, about bonding and how to pay for it and that sort of thing. I can just say that I hope it happens because it would be, kind of a game changer move.
I think it was 25 million of federal dollars, and then the city had to match that.
Yeah, and the costs have escalated so much that it's become a problem. Yeah.
Well, the same is true with anything. Like, if had we done transportation, had we done some sort of a rail system, when that was set to Jeb Bush, I mean, costs have like quadrupled since then, and I think if unfortunately, if we don't take advantage of these federal programs now, who knows if they'll be around in the future. And if they're not around in the future, the city will never be able to pay for this stuff by itself.
I know. Like when we gave back the high-speed rail money
when
Rick Scott was governor.
Billions of dollars, yeah. And then it's like, okay, well, now, first of all, we don't have it. And then second of all, what is that going to cost? This is something I wrote up on these parks and some of the infrastructure moving into West Tampa, West Riverwalk expansion. I love how they're doing a real nature focus, right? Like I shouldn't say I'll speak for myself. I don't want to see like a bunch of concrete seawall, right? I really love these pictures because it's all natural.
There's only like 2 places on the east bank of the Riverwalk right now that has a natural shoreline. So that would be
right?
good. Yeah, Eulalie. In fact, the guy who restored that spring said it was the smallest project he's ever worked on and the most complicated project he's ever worked on.
Well, wasn't that whole thing plugged up? Like it was just covered with concrete and trash and like.
There's a spring across the street at under the Bush Ross parking lot. Someone told me recently.
A spring?
Like across Doyle Carlton.
Oh, really?
From where the Eulalie spring is. Yeah. It's
under a parking lot?
Yeah.
Let's dig that thing up and connect the two. Wouldn't that be cool? There's another one I'm really excited about is the Palmacia Spring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because if you think about Bayshore Boulevard, it's a lot of different things, right? It's a boulevard for traffic. People use it to commute. But it's also a park though. And so to me, imagine that Eulalie Spring where Palmacia Park is, where you could sort of activate like the park and then Bayshore's sidewalk itself. Like you're walking down Bayshore, you're enjoying your day, and it's like, oh, let's like cross the street and go over here into this park.
I just went to a fundraiser for that recently from Ecosphere. They're trying to, I think, get the grant money together.
I saw the biggest snook in my life coming out of the pipe right there on Bayshore Boulevard. I was like 6 years old. I was fishing. I don't even know if you're allowed to fish on Bayshore.
I doubt it.
I don't think you are now, but
You know what I saw the other day in the river for the first time in my life?
what?
Someone swimming.
Someone swimming?
Yeah, through downtown.
That's a bold man right
Yeah.
there. Assuming it was a man. Could have been a woman. Who was it? Did you say, "Hey, what's up?
No,
What are you doing?"
I saw it from the office tower out the window, but
You had to get a video of that.
yeah, I did take a photo.
Okay, good.
But they had like kind of like a kayak guard along with them.
You know what?
So,
I think I've seen that person.
oh really?
Yep.
Okay.
And I've seen them up here near Armature Works. Maybe they do their exercising
yeah.
there. I saw someone swimming around the north side of the hospital. So like around Davis Islands on the
Really?
north side. That's
There's some current there too.
there's some current, but there's also some boats that whip around
Yeah,
that corner right
yeah.
there.
Which is a fun thing because one of the things that we did years ago was to try to figure out where docks could go in downtown. We have, I think, a fair amount. We probably could still use more, but we did not have boat traffic 15 years ago.
No,
So
it's
it's-
cool to see.
yeah.
And then you go and the boats are getting bigger too. Like you go to AMSO and it's like, whoa, who
Oh,
are these people?
Those I know. I don't
Damn,
know.
coming to Tampa, Florida with these yachts. It's exciting stuff.
Someone told me once that they're arms dealers,
It
but
could be.
this is just a rumor I'm spreading.
They could be. Karen, you're getting called over here for the peanut gallery. Let's talk about the Riverwalk Cup. Wasn't that the partnership? Didn't the partnership?
The Riverwalk Cup.
Yeah, like the where you
Oh,
could
yes.
drink
Sorry.
in the river.
Yes. Well, we used to be co-located with Friends of the Tampa Riverwalk, like in the same office. Things just got too busy. Now they're their own separate organization. But yes, you can. It's the specialty zone, the specialty cup. So I believe there's 7 different destinations. You have to be right on the Riverwalk. You can get a to-go cup, and then it's legal for you to walk with that cup on the Riverwalk.
It's so cool. It makes it such a fun event to grab a drink at a couple
It
different
does,
places
yeah.
and walk along the Riverwalk. You know, it's a really cool thing. And that was done with the city to like wet zone that
Yeah.
and figure all that out.
Yep. That was an interesting process, and you can't cross a road with it. There's some wonky state legislation that makes it hard because a lot of downtowns have DORAs. I forget what DORA stands for. Drinking outdoor recreation area,
Some
maybe.
legal thing.
Yeah, so you can create kind of like a whole downtown could be a DORA, but there's something in our state law that prevents that. So
Huh.
it just basically had to be just on the Riverwalk.
Got it.
So we can't have kind of an outdoor open beverage kind of situation anywhere else in downtown unless the state legislation changes.
I'm thinking the West Riverwalk will be a different experience because you don't have some of the establishments you have on the east side. And so
Yeah.
I would assume you're not going to be able to drink on that west
I
side.
haven't heard that discussed, but yeah, it's probably something that we're thinking about.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that river walk on the west side is so exciting for everything we talked about. Let's go back real quick to that intersection because I wanted to ask you how we could rethink some intersections downtown. And I know the partnership has done some like public art, right?
Yeah,
Some
asphalt art,
planters,
tactical urbanism type stuff.
some stuff like that. If you zoom in now to that intersection, David, so this is what it looks like now.
Pretty stark.
When I leave the office today, this will all be backed up. It's backed up every single day.
Yep.
And then go to the picture of what it's supposed to look like, David, if you still have that pulled up. Haskell West River. There's a top down they have. Find that top down. Because in the rendering, so it's completely reworked. So my thing is like, first of all, that's awesome. And look at the bike infrastructure, right? Like this is really cool to see. When you arrived in Tampa, everything was just concrete grid. Concrete, right? Now you go to certain areas of downtown, there's like these big planters. There's the tactical urbanism, right? Which describes what? Like placemaking and murals and
Yeah. I mean, asphalt art is another way to say
asphalt
that.
art. to me, this is a way to get people in cars to slow down and pay attention, and for pedestrians and bicyclists to be seen as downtown becomes more of a place that where you live and work and enjoy versus like get in and get out as quick as
Yeah,
you can.
yeah. I mean, typically it's been talked about as the ease with transportation. So you have education, you have enforcement, encouragement is in there, but really what it all comes down to is the engineering, right? So if you're going to have like the current photo really shows this like just like these continuous right turn lanes, the sweep lanes. You're not requiring anyone to slow down really at all.
It's like a highway ramp,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. It's basically like we have another one at the Madam Fortune Taylor, Laurel Street Bridge, and Doyle Carlton. There's just this awkward kind of continuous right turn with a lot of pedestrians crossing. It's just something's got to give, and the pedestrian's not going to win in that scenario. So kind of the same concept here. So as much as you can kind of force, more angled turns, and even strategies that don't cost anything, such as no turn on red. If you're anywhere else in the world, pretty much it's a prohibitive thing because it's not safe for pedestrians. Because where's the driver looking? They're looking to the left to see if any other cars are coming. They're not looking to the right to see if someone's about to cross. So
Another example too is the Davis Islands on ramp going northbound from Bayshore Boulevard. In my lifetime, a couple people have been killed crossing there. David on the left.
Yeah.
Because again, the infrastructure itself is for speed.
It's highway.
Period.
Yeah.
That's what it's for speed. So to me, when you design that West Riverwalk, you should expect a ton more people to be on that west side. So my hope is that they actually jump out and go under that bridge. Now, that whole bridge probably needs to be reworked. It's so janky and looks like crap and needs way more capacity, probably.
Davis Islands, it's access on and off.
It's a problem.
It's a problem.
And you got GGH.
I know.
Like, last week, I saw an ambulance sitting in traffic.
Oh,
with
no.
the lights on. I'm like, that's not good.
That's not good.
So that probably all is going to get reworked, I'm assuming, in the next decade or whatever. That I know those bridges are... I think they're from the 60s.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know.
You got, so that'll probably get reworked. But again, right, you have basically a highway exit. Look how smooth that turn is for a vehicle. And then look at the sidewalk, boop, right through it. I mean, to me, that design is not conducive to pedestrian safety. That's how do we get cars from A to B as quickly as possible? And then the pedestrians here are an afterthought. And I hope as the city and as this entire country's culture moves towards this flight back to downtown,
back to where we were,
back
like
to
you
where
said
we
earlier.
were, exactly.
Yeah.
I hope that there's more focus on the engineering aspect.
Yeah, I know with the Amalie Arena, there used to be real pride in the fact that we could empty out the parking garage in 15 minutes flat and get people out of downtown. And now we're saying like, I think it's okay if they stay.
Yeah.
And guess what else? We have a grid, so they could probably choose more than one road. Then maybe we don't need so many orange cones all over the place. So that's kind of on the to-do list as well, as take a deeper dive into all the maintenance of traffic related to events. And maybe there's some more modern ways we can handle that.
Well, it's an evening out now. You used to just go to a Lightning game and park and leave, or maybe you went to like Ferg's or Hattrick's or something. But now there's so much to do around the arena. You could go to a concert and get dinner and go to a different place for drinks. Like, it's cool now. There's like multiple things to do. It's fun, right?
It wasn't always like that.
And that's what downtown is. Like, it's everyone's backyard. It's where we can all go for entertainment or restaurants or shopping. Like, it should really be this super diverse, fun place we can all get to in an efficient way and be there and stay there and enjoy it and not have to leave. You should be able to spend a whole Saturday morning, midday, and evening there, and never run out of things. I think we
need to hire you. You're doing a good job of selling. No, but it is. I know. Obviously, we're going to be a little bit parochial about it, but it really is an important asset to the region, and that's why, as reflected in our membership base, you don't have to be in downtown Tampa to be a member because you just believe in the importance of a strong downtown for your core.
David, hit that list. Let's see what.
We're at 12:20.
Uh-oh.
Do you want to talk about Marion? And
yes.
I think maybe some additional Partnership and what you've been doing, adding bike racks, things of that sort.
Well, you do have a flight today, so we need to pay attention to time. Let's pull this list back up. Let's do Marion Transit Parkway. So pull up the map, David. This is a beautiful, actually,
It's a hidden gem.
hidden gem, downtown Tampa. It's a wide boulevard with mature trees. Not a lot of action because people, you're not allowed to drive north and southbound on it during like business hours, right?
During business hours.
You can cross it, of course.
Yep.
But a lot of people don't know about it because they don't use the road.
Right. And it's literally right smack and dab in the middle of downtown. You see where it is, David, with the brick. So it's a beautiful corridor. It was built in the late 80s. And it is the bus mall. I like calling it Marion Transit Parkway better because it does kind of have a park-like feel with all the trees. There's some super cool bus shelters along it that are oversized and historic looking. There's right now only 3 bus routes that even use Marion because the signal timing does not favor the north-south movement on Marion. So we're starting a conversation with Hart and the city and some of the adjacent stakeholders to talk about kind of what is Marion going to be when it grows up. If you turn around, David, and head the other way, that's probably the bigger opportunity. But the other thing you'll see is that all the development has pretty much turned its back to Marion Street. There's literally one business that fronts Marion, which is the Brugger's Bagels at 501 Kennedy. So,
And the problem is there's nothing we can really do about that. It's like you can't just blow through that concrete, especially because you have telecommunications. That's the back of the old federal courthouse. You
Yeah.
have the new federal courthouse. Good luck getting them to come in here and figure out a way to improve that. So
yeah, right.
this
It's pretty
is,
stark.
we
right?
talked about this earlier, right? Like this is a bad way to develop a city. Just concrete walls
Yeah.
against the sidewalk. So what's the partnership's plan to turn this place around?
So that's what we're starting to really talk more about, like I said, with Hart and the city. But if as you keep going south, the direction you're going, keep going down the corridor.
It might not let him go back north, David, and then
Okay, there you go. Yeah, so just you're starting to get some more life now. You've got a church there. There's a truck illegally using the corridor, which happens all the time.
These
but
trees are so pretty,
So
though.
this block right here in particular, we think between Madison and Kennedy has some real potential. There is a new owner of the building there on the left. They're talking about, right there. They're talking about doing a restaurant and I think some kind of club. See the bus shelter that we just went by. We see that as a really fun opportunity to turn into some kind of like a retail kiosk,
Love it.
whether it's a coffee shop or newspaper stand or selling hot dogs. I don't know what it is, but we think there's some fun opportunities there. The conversation could be had about opening it back up to mixed traffic. I think Hart wants to try to preserve it as a transit asset.
What does that mean? Open it up to mixed.
Just like let cars drive on it.
Right.
Yeah.
On the street.
Which, I don't know. I don't have a real strong opinion about it. I think Hart wants to try to preserve it, though, for increased transit. One of those strategies could be maybe we remove the signals. Maybe we remove some of those signals and it's a free flow north-south, but then there's a two-way stop east-west. Just to kind of let those buses have that time advantage.
Why wouldn't it be just bus only, and then you can use this corridor for like awesome outdoor markets? Like, can you imagine this whole street lined up with different vendors on a Saturday or a Sunday?
That's exactly the kind of strategies that we're starting to look at. And then you can see at the very end, then you've got that Whiting Street garage we talked about earlier, that's city owned and a couple stories, pretty old. That is a whole, part of a redevelopment opportunity. So
Super
it's
exciting.
so it's fun. It's fun to kind of dream right now.
When you say Hart wants to hold on to it, the board has expressed that they'd like to not do this. They'd like to keep it as a bus route, or no?
We haven't talked to the board. We've only been talking to staff so far. We will need to bring them in at some point.
Sure.
But I believe that there is some potential federal funds that they can receive if they run more bus service on it.
What if Hart just created a Marion Street trolley or whatever, and it would only exclusively be downtown to take people from one end to the other.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got like a sort of transportation boulevard, and then that would incentivize businesses and developers to like start to rethink this corridor and actually make a commitment and put some investment here. Because otherwise it's going to be a heavy lift. Like Franklin Street has its own challenges. We talked about that earlier.
Right.
But Marion Street has even more
Yes,
because
it
of all
does.
the concrete and
It'd
the
have to
buildings
be-
not facing it.
It'd have to be a super cool public installation or event for people to go, because people are like, where's Marion? And
Yeah.
am I safe there? Because there's a lot of loitering on Marion right now. So,
Simply because it's underutilized.
and it's shady. It's a shady block, and there's benches.
It really is beautiful.
Yeah,
it
it
actually,
is.
it's kind of like the most beautiful boulevard in downtown Tampa.
Yeah, I think it might be.
I mean, really, which is interesting
Yeah.
because people don't think about
Right.
it. But look at the mature trees and the wide sidewalks and the
Mm-hmm.
small travel lane.
Yeah. Yeah. So at this point, I'd say we're open to all ideas. So feel free to give it some more
Interesting.
thought and
Very cool.
check back in.
One thing we didn't really dig into, which we absolutely should, is the partnership, the Franklin Street plan and some of the CRA dollars going towards that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I kind of touched on it. It's better streetscape. It's having that right mix of uses along the corridor. I mean, that's kind of the bones of it.
But the CRA gave $6 million, I believe.
Yep.
And so part of that bucket of money, I mean, what's that going to be used to do?
So just kind of what I said, like the streetscape enhancement will be a big thing. Like right now, none of the irrigation works on Franklin Street, for example. There's nice pavers on the street, but a lot of them are buckling, and there's trip hazards all over
So
the
money to
place.
fix that.
So we need money to fix that. We need to set it up for success by fixing the irrigation, which is a little bit scary because when you go underground, you don't know what you're going to find. And Franklin is a very old street. And then, the economics of it is, right now we have the Tampa Theater, which is amazing. And they have lots of ideas for kind of their arrival plaza, what that block could look like.
Yeah.
It's a
Pull
little,
up my post on it, David. I wrote about it. I don't know when. Scroll back. But some of the renderings were super exciting.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a little bit complicated with the Tampa Theater block because Tico, as you know, is vacating that building across the street from the Tampa Theater, which Tico doesn't own. It's owned by a group out of Sarasota. And so
What happens there?
I know we haven't been able to get in touch with them to find out. So, is it a tear down? Is it
Are they going to
boutique
sell?
hotel? Or
know?
yeah, what are their thoughts? So
Try to pull that up, David. Scroll back. You could maybe even Google it. I think the title was like CRA. Just put 6 million Franklin Street, Tampa, and it should pull up that little write up I did. But some of the renderings are like crazy exciting because there's a park with like shipping containers and like little cafes, big planters along, like public art in
Yep.
the street. What'd you call it? Tactical
urbanism or asphalt art.
asphalt
Yeah.
art.
The ironically, I think the biggest opportunity to make change is on North Franklin Street along Yellow Brick Row up in Tampa Heights. Unfortunately, that is not within the downtown CRA, so we're going to have to try to find other funding sources for that. They've got big infrastructure. It's not ADA compliant, neither is Marion for that matter. There's drainage issues, et cetera. So we need to get creative and try to find some ways to solve that. But
Not ADA compliant, like where on Marion Street?
well, this
looks-
was built before the ADA law went into effect. So having the right ramp locations or the right grades of the ramps, basically at all of the intersections where you're crossing.
That should be a
Because
relatively
the way they used to do it
easy
is
fix,
is
no?
the ramp. Well, like, everything gets expensive, but the way they used to do it is they would just put a ramp right there on the corner. It's just kind of like this big wide ramp, and it might even be kind of steep. Now you have a ramp, going straight north south, and a ramp going straight east west. You don't just have like this one in the middle that puts you out in the middle of the intersection. If I'm doing a good job of explaining that.
So is that where I think it's silly. I mean, some of the infrastructure is silly, how small, like someone on a wheelchair could fit, but no one can walk past that person at the same time. Why pinch people in like that?
Yeah,
Like, why not have a big open area where everyone can walk? I
see. Yeah, the whole curb.
this is another
Yeah.
conversation about this book of rules that we abide by that like goes against complete logic.
There's lots of transportation design rules.
Okay, so this is the Business Journal article, David. You couldn't find mine. Mine was better because I have all the pictures from the partnership's
I
presentation.
mean, we have a website called
I even think I shouted out Karen Kress on
Wow. Well, thank you.
the article
We
too.
have a website called franklinstreetvision.com where we
Oh.
have all of this information if
Even better.
if
Pull
you want
that
to
up,
go
David.
there.
Yeah, because this is really exciting to think about what Franklin Street could be
Yeah.
and when are these improvements taking place.
Well, we have right now we're in a contracting phase with the city with the CRA. If you scroll back up a little bit, David, so here's the link. I don't know which one you want to pull up, but here's the links to the plans.
Now, who spearheaded this?
We did.
I know, but I mean, was this a project that you were kind of,
Yeah, I mean, I managed and probably pushed hard for it, but only
because I want to give thanks is the reason I asked.
Yeah.
I want to give thanks that the history was the first thing about this plan where you actually talk about
it's the street of firsts.
Franklin Street.
Yeah.
Like this is our main street. This was our main street. And you've got the old pictures in there of people
Yeah,
shopping.
yeah.
I thought that was cool
Yeah.
to start with that and
Yeah.
be like, look at what we had. And then how do we move more towards
Right.
that? I thought
Right.
that was
Well,
interesting.
it has a proven success record.
Right.
Yeah, so you can see there's this document is, block by block with recommendations on what to do. Like for instance, a lot of the trees don't have any kind of, buffer to designate what the tree well would be. And like I said, the irrigation isn't working, et cetera. So a lot of it is just kind of fixing. Oh, and then this is its own subject.
Let me ask a question about, like you just said, a tree buffer as an example, and then scroll up, David. Like another thing too, scroll all the way up.
It's a big plan.
Where
so
was that
sorry.
like colorful picture?
That was in its. Well, do you mean the one that showed the shipping container in the park, or?
More so that street mural. I have two things I wanted to say with the street mural, and again, personal opinion. Was it?
He's talking about the one in front of Dia.
Yeah. So here's my
Oh,
thing.
this one, okay.
So I just have two thoughts. My first thought is, when you go in, first, this doesn't last long. Okay. You go
Yeah.
see this, it gets tire marks on it. Is it cool? Yes. Do I like it? Yeah, I think it's great. But it doesn't last long. Like it ends up looking bad before
Yeah.
it's really fully enjoyed. So
Yeah, we're actually not doing these anymore.
for that reason?
Yep, that's exactly that reason.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Moving on. But the other thing too is, and again, personal opinion, I'd like to see a more classic approach. Like you mentioned the tree buffers, like that should be like wrought iron versus like why does
Agreed.
everything need to be like pink and purple and colorful,
Yep,
right?
agreed.
I think a timeless and classic look will breed the creativity necessary in some of the smaller businesses. They can do the colorful stuff.
agree with you.
I think too much of this actually might inhibit some
Like lessen the historic.
that
feel
for
or-
sure. But if the whole street looks like that and I'm a little coffee shop, like how do I stand out? You know what
Oh,
I
I
mean?
see what you're saying.
So I just think a more classic approach to the street in terms of landscaping, in terms of colors, maybe more wrought iron and like historical
Yeah.
stuff versus just a rainbow of colors
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, I
You
would
know?
agree with you. One of the things I'm personally obsessed with is the blade signs. Like for instance, like the Tampa sign at the Tampa Theater. If you
Yes.
look at some of those historic photos, the whole street was lined with those blade signs. And
Yeah.
how amazing would that be?
Right. Yeah. I
Even
mean,
things like, the lighting and even like flags, just it doesn't have to be.
this cross lighting down the whole way
Yeah.
would be really cool for markets and stuff like that. But go back to the presentation, David. 12:34.
Okay.
How much time do you have?
Oh, yeah, I think.
You probably need to wrap it
Yeah,
up
we
ish.
do need to wrap it up.
Can we take just 2 minutes
Of
on
course,
these?
yes.
Okay. On the north side of Franklin Street, David, I just wanted to talk about why don't we do this? Let's talk the under 275 and the north of 275 Yellow Brick Road. Because to me, that's something that I don't think we've dug into today.
Yeah.
So tell people what Yellow Brick Row is as David pulls
Yeah.
it up.
Yeah,
North Franklin,
it's in
David.
it's in Tampa Heights, so north of the interstate. It's literally my favorite block in downtown. Yellow Brick Row. It has, I mean, the buildings are yellow brick, So, and then you can see where the Y is in the road. That would be where the YMCA's new development is. I'm sure you've written about that. But you go a few blocks south. I mean, the Hall on Franklin was there, which has new ownership now and hopefully should be open by the end of the year. So that'd be a great just shot in the arm to the neighborhood. But you've got Hidden Springs Brewery. You've got the Florida Center for Woodworking. No, Florida School of Woodwork. Do you know about that?
No, that's
It's
cool.
amazing. It's the only one out in the southeast, outside of North Carolina.
Wow.
They have it's a beautiful it's a historic building that's been restored. That's the word I was looking for. And they have woodworking classes. Like I went and made a cutting board in there, which you don't have to have any skills to do. But
How cool is that?
yeah,
That's
they
awesome.
do classes all the time. And then you have the Oceanic Asian grocery store on those blocks. So it has so much character. Most of it is pretty low rise. It just, kind of a great, feel as you're walking down the corridor.
So Hall on Franklin, this building, put the man down there, David, that has been purchased. This will be, what's happening?
There's going to be a restaurant in there, and I think they're trying to decide what to do with the upper floor. This was another tactical urbanism asphalt alt project we did. You can see the purple there. We just tried to delineate the space a little bit for pedestrians. But yeah, as you go north on the corridor, we do have some surface parking that we could get rid of and, maybe better building stock in a couple instances, but keep going north. That's kind of the money shot.
Oh my God,
So
it's
now you're-
inching you along
Yeah,
here.
so now you're getting into the yellow brick. So this building right
What a
here
gorgeous
on the
building.
right, this was just purchased. I just had a call with the new owner. There is a bridal shop, a coffee shop, and a tattoo parlor in there right now. But a beautiful building, and the owner is, very much, committed to the preservation of the building. And then you have, if you keep going north, that's where you have the woodwork school. I think it's maybe the next space. Yeah, the Florida School of Woodwork right there. And then you
School.
have the Rialto, which is an old theater, which is for sale. That's the 2-story building. And you have a really cool alley right there. Go a little bit, yeah. Oop, see that alley?
I love all
couldn't
the
that be
brick.
fun?
The Rialto Theater, that, the next owner has a big responsibility and a massive opportunity right there.
Yeah, yeah. I would love to see some kind of music venue in there.
Ooh,
I think
yeah,
that'd be amazing, but I don't know what it's going to become.
totally.
Then you've got Hidden Springs Brewery, which has quite a craft beer following, and then you have the Hall on Franklin. So much good stuff. There's another mural that we did that we will not do again. That one got skid marks all over it pretty quickly, and yeah, we're actually going to be painting that over in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I just think the roads should be roads. Pretty nice roads. Let's fill the potholes. Let's repave them. Let's put proper stripes on them. Beautiful mature trees, wide sidewalks. And then I think if that fabric was taken care of, you'd have all you needed to do to support businesses from there, right? It's like, I think your organization is a lot more flexible than the local government for sure.
We are.
Which is why it's cool though, because you're doing things that the government can't do, and like you're helping
Yep.
fill the potholes,
Yep.
so to speak,
Yep.
right? Like along the way in this whole plan. And then this continues up. That's the YMCA on the right, I think.
A little bit further, yeah.
So that's that was actually on the left there. That was Tampa's first public library.
Yeah, that's a Carnegie Library. It's called
go
it's called
back.
it's called the Tampa Free Library.
David,
but-
go back just real quick. Look what it used to be.
Oh,
And then go
that's-
one more forward. Look at this. Wow. And then go one more, David. Bam.
Yeah.
It
And
already
we just
looks better.
paid for that mural on the side of their building too.
So this is the new Hall on Franklin building.
Mm-hmm.
And this has a new owner. This will be a game changer. That
Yep.
was such a popular place.
It was.
It was sad to see that go, but I
Yep.
think the new owners have something similar
Yeah,
and
they'll-
even better.
I think
plan.
they'll do good work. And there is paid on-street parking up here now, which was quite controversial. But
Why was it controversial?
You're going to need. Well, the businesses think it's really hurt their business that they don't have free parking any longer.
Sure.
But we're going to need to manage parking. The only way to do it is with pricing. So
Right. Right. And then also too, as a part of this plan is these vacant parking lots. I mean, there's opportunity for
Yep.
development up there as
redevelopment
well.
sites. Yep.
And then zoom out, David, and we'll end with this. The north part, so people understand kind of where we're at. This all ends. Go to
It literally
top
ends.
down.
Yeah.
So zoom out a little bit. So this all runs into the new development. So this is a partnership. Was it YMCA and Ellison?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They're redoing this whole quadrant here. So I think you've got a mix of use. I want to say there's an office building,
Mm-hmm.
hotel,
Yeah.
and
A
then
new Y and
new
yeah,
Y. But I think the historic
they
building
are.
is
They're
going to
saving
stay.
that building. Yeah.
So think about Franklin Street holistically, right? That south portion, the Kress block, the Tampa Theater, the north section of downtown, under the expressway, under the highway could be something there.
Mm-hmm.
Then moving through the area you just talked about, and it would end at that big new development. So that is like the central spine of downtown. That is super exciting when you think about the whole thing.
Well, we ran out of time.
I know. I got to let
Lots
you go.
more to talk about.
Karen Kress, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
This was a lot of fun. I think we could keep going, but I know you have a flight to catch. If people want to follow your organization, be involved, join, how can they do that?
Yep. Looks right there. And we cannot do this alone. So we welcome people to get involved in our organization, join as a member, join the committees, come to our events. We do lots of them. We didn't even talk about the public space programming. We do over 300 events a year. And so,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, there's lots of ways to get involved.
So Instagram at Tampa's Downtown. I know you guys are pretty active there.
Yep.
What's the website?
Yeah, tampasdowntown.com.
Tampasdowntown.com. I'm sure you can find a membership form, et cetera, on there.
Yep.
All the above.
Yep.
All right, let's get you out of here to the best airport in the
Yes,
world.
of course.
Thank you, everyone. See you next week.